Well, hello. How's everyone doing today? Sorry for the lack of streams. I got trapped in the figurative and literal dungeons of 14 because Dawn Trail came out, and 14 community is possibly the worst ever when it comes to just spoiling shit, so if you want to make it through the main story, with any semblance of surprise or, things you didn't expect to see, you have to basically beeline it, so I think there was a period there where over 48 hours, I think I had a grand total of like 10 hours of sleep, so that was fun. But, yeah. That is done now. And thankfully, yesterday, on a Sunday, which I did not expect, Tsukihime showed up. I ordered the physical copy because this is a game that I was really excited for. I'm a huge fucking Type Moon head, even though I don't, I don't talk about it too much, like, on Twitter or anything, but, yeah, easily, like, one of my favorite media franchises ever, so seeing this get an official release was unexpected, kind of. I mean, they released Witch on the Holy Night, which in, like, no universe I expected that to ever, like, get an English release, but, I got one. It was really good. The biggest things hampering it down were honestly just, like, the translation itself, like, it was very clearly just had, like, typos and a couple of odd turns of phrase where I'm like, but hearing that the translation for Tsukihime is really good, and corroborated by some people I've been seeing on Twitter talk about it, I'm really excited. I've played a few hours of the fan translation, that's why this is semi-blind. It's also semi-blind because, I played the original Tsukihime, like, back in high school, so I'm definitely aware of where the story goes. It's just gonna be a matter of new stuff. Well, hello, Anbu Super. How's it going? Oh? Over? Over what exactly? Oh, yeah. No, I'm super excited. Because Tsukihime, infamously kind of one of the lowest rent visual novels I think I've ever read to completion, so, we're literally going to the exact opposite end of the spectrum where... What was it again? How much fucking hard drive space did this game take up? 37 gigs. So, no, I'm really excited. And if I'm remembering right from my time playing the fan translation, it kicks you right into the prologue, so that's why I've just been sitting on the main menu. But, it's been a few minutes. Let's go ahead and get it started. White woman. Oh yeah, Tsukihime definitely leans a lot more into the horror stuff than Nasu likes to do, and I think it's all the better for it. I think that definitely gives it a unique edge that his other works kind of lack.
目が覚めた。暗い夜、家の中にみんなはいない。慣れた草と紙の匂い、積み木細工のような空。部屋の隅にはどろりとこびりついたような古い影。死に絶えた音の中で過去を偲ぶ。見ていた夢はもしもの話ばかりだった。例えば、
もし空が曇っていたのなら、もし気づくのが少し早ければ。
On the fan translation, I think I got to them at the hotel. I think that was as far as I got.
もし私が生まれていなかった。
So definitely a few hours in, but not like super far.
もしここであなたが目覚めなければ。
Also, let me know how volume is. I think it should be good.
きっともう 家の中には誰もいない。一人きりは怖いからみんなに会いたくて一人きりで庭に出た。
Oh yeah, this is my first time playing the PS4 version.
と吐く息が白くなっていく。
Oh no, I read the OG like way back in the day, so
指先が痛くなるぐらい寒かった。
definitely excited to see how
凍る星、深い闇、
this changes things in interesting ways.
冷たい光。屋敷の庭はすごく広くて周りは深い闇に囲まれて森の木々は黒く黒く。
Yeah, I'm familiar with the older one, but even just from like the little bit I've played, they've clearly added like a lot of stuff and started changing stuff too, so definitely not going to have a total prediction as to where stuff goes.
じきサーカスが始まるのかとワクワクした。遠くでいろんな音がしている。黒い木々のカーテンの奥、森の中でみんなが楽しそうに騒いでる。幕はまだ開かない。我慢できずに森の中へと入っていった。すごく暗い。森は深くて冷たい光も届かない。いろいろな音がしていろいろなものがあるけれど暗くてよくわからない。途中で誰かとすれ違ったかもよく記憶できないくらい。自分の名前を呼ばれた気がして。
Excited to see how the visual presentation in this compares to Witch on the Holy Night, because that game is, in terms of presentation, is just insane.
木々のベールを抜けた後、森の広場にはみんな揃って待っていた。
It's all jumbled up. Everyone's all over the place. The ground is soaked red with blood.
向こうから見知らぬ人がやってくる。
I will be reading anything that's unvoiced. Everything else I'll just leave to the voice
みんなを
actors.
そうしたように僕もバラバラにしたいみたい。よくわからない。ぼんやりとその人を見る。なすすべもなく狂気を待つ。けれどいよいよという時に誰かが僕の前にやってきて、僕は子供だからよくわからない。びしゃりと温かいものが顔にかかる。
Yep, remember that from the original.
トマトみたいに赤い水。本当によくわ
Thanks.
からな
I'm
い。
hoping I enjoy it as well. I mean, I'm sure I will, but
ただ寒くて
it's kind of hard for Nasu to fumble. Not that he hasn't, but
泣い
it
て
is
しまいそう
difficult.
だった。森は黒くて見たくない。地面は赤くて見たくない。だから空を見上げることにした。目に温かいヒーロが混ざってくる。眼球の奥に染み込んでくる。
Sadly, I do play FGO. I am sadly trapped in the gacha mines.
夜空にはただ一人きりの月がある。見知らぬ人は今度こそ僕をバラバラにしようとやってくる。
You have excellent
なのに
taste.
僕はぼんやりといつまでも青い影を見上げている。すごく不思議。どうして今まで気がつかなかったんだろう。ああ、今夜はこんなにも。何も見えない。世界がだんだん消えていく。その中でずっときれいに輝いてる。
Yeah, I mean, you're going from like Nasu's as of right now like best work in FGO from to like something that was definitely like
綺麗。
not nearly as high of a quality and didn't get nearly as much time either, so. There we go. That was all just like the pre-menu movie. It's oh. Are you telling me vampires aren't real? Nah, couldn't be. Yeah, they kind of did Koyan dirty, not gonna lie. Like, I still love her, but like, what the fuck? You can use the touchpad as a mouse cursor? Okay, this has to be getting a PC port at some point. That's hilarious. There are curtains that gently sway. A chilly breeze enters through an open window. I instinctively squint at the harsh color of the room. Where am I? What day is it? What happened to me? I can't seem to think straight. I try to push myself up, but a sharp pain courses through my body. My breath catches in my throat, and I start gasping for air like a fish. Is this what they mean by seeing stars? The moment I place my hand against the hard bed, pain erupts from the inside out again. Ugh. Still laying down, I take a deep breath and look over my body. Both my hands are covered in bandages. My left leg's also set in a plaster cast. I feel a tightness around my head, so it must be wrapped up too. A large, thick, adhesive strap is stuck to my chest, like it's hiding something bad. My left arm has a tube poked into it. Some part of me understands that it's an IV. I guess I must have seen all this while I was drifting in and out of sleep. The other room, dimly lit and reeking of medicine and chemicals. The array of tubes poking out from under the bandage on my chest. The scary man in the suit who came to see me. My little sister, getting scolded by the man when she came to visit. And the doctor, as giddy as a child. I remember all of it like it was a dream.
君、もしかして目が覚めてない？
I hear the voice of an unfamiliar woman. I don't have the strength to answer her. She then bursts out of the room, frantically calling for the doctor. Pitter patter, go her steps. She really shouldn't be running in a hospital, even if it is to get me help. Unable to lift my body, I turn my head and look up at the window. You know, honestly, like, so far at least, you know, translation's been solid. Like, it is very well capturing Nasu's prose, because it is very funny how much you can read something that Nasu wrote and just be like, yep, he wrote this. He definitely has his distinct style, and they translated it well here. Man, this font, that's one of the only reasons I wish, like, for a PC version, is the font in both this and Witch on the Holy Night is, it's just so bland. And it looks like, this is going to sound weird, like the spacing between letters feels like the slightest amount off, that it just looks a little awkward. But that's also just like my OCD kicking in. I feel a sharp pain in each of my eyes, as if a jagged knife were poking and prodding around inside my brain. The sky outside is so blue it looks unreal. I find my eyes flinching, not from the white, hot glare of the sun, but from the spotless stretch of blue. Days pass. Since waking up, I still haven't been able to move from the bed. My only view of the outside world is the same faraway sky as before. Gently, the curtains flap. A dry wind touches my cheek. Oh, Nasu is a master of, like, urban horror. Like, I think that is the best way to describe the stuff in his horror that works really well. It, like, original Tsukihime is very cheap, but it uses its cheapness very effectively combined with the writing to like still be a very stressful experience to read. The stainless swath of blue leaves my eyes feeling woozy. Where am I? What day is it? Why am I in a hospital? Gradually, the answers come to me. Except for one. I keep looking out the window, a thought just out of reach. Something important, a tearful promise. I can't remember.
はじめまして、東野四季君。回復おめでとう。
Words from a man I've only just met. He offers me a handshake. With his gentle smile and soft-spoken voice, he seems like a kind man. Though I get the feeling he's someone who could wipe the smile off his face at the flip of a switch. The clean white coat he wears fits him perfectly.
四季君、先生の言っていることがわかるかい？
いえ。僕はどうして病院にいるんですか？
覚えていないんだね。君は道を歩いているとき、自動車の交通事故に巻き込まれたんだ。胸にガラスの破片が刺さってね。とても助かるような傷じゃなかったんだよ。
The man, draped in white, smiles as he utters something a doctor probably shouldn't say. It's a miracle that you're alive. Oh, there they are. The queasy feeling I was holding back threatens to spill out after I hear those words.
眠いです。眠っていいですか？
ああ、そうしなさい。今は無理をせず、体を休ませてあげないとね。
Okay. Already seeing that they didn't fix one of my bigger gripes with the Witch on the Holy Night translation, where the character has a continuous line that is split between two lines. They still leave like the quote symbol on the second line, even though you don't need that. It's fine. It's a little thing. It's whatever. The doctor continues smiling. Honestly, it makes me feel uneasy.
先生、一つ聞いていいですか？
何かな、四季君。
どうして体中に落書きをしているんですか？この部屋もところどころひびだらけで、今にも崩れちゃいそうです。
For a brief second, the smile vanishes from the doctor's face. Then he rises out of his seat, smile reapplied. His shoes clack against the floor as he disappears behind the curtain.
やはり脳に異常があるようだ。脳外科の芦谷先生に連絡を。それと、視神経にも損傷の疑いがあるな。午後は眼科検査に回すように。
The doctor whispers to his nurse, his voice cold and harsh, starkly different from before.
変なの。みんな体に落書きしてる。
Favorite character in all the Nasuverse. Fuck. That's... This is gonna sound like such a basic bitch answer, but I think it still might just be Saber. I think her arc in the original was really well done, and her continued appearances are very enjoyable. The frenzied lines cling to every surface of the hospital. I don't know why, but just seeing them is enough to make me feel sick.
なんだろう、これ。
It took a few seconds. I was like really torn. I was like, I do also really enjoy Sakura. Sakura is also really fun. Oh, for what it's worth, I think whatever they're releasing, like the English release of Stay Night, I think that's just like a port of the beta version. I don't think it's like a full-on remake. I can't imagine they're gonna remake that, at least until... Well, Nasu better not start working on remaking that until he finishes the second part of the Tsukihime remake. There are even scribbles on my bed. I touch one of them with my finger. Schwip. Finger slides in. I had something thinner, I bet it could go even further. I grab a plastic knife off of a nearby tray and trace one of the scribbles with it. With no effort at all, the knife sinks down to the handle. Enjoying myself, I glide the knife along the lines in the bed. Crash. With a heavy sound, the bed falls neatly into 2 pieces. I turn to the voice behind me. The shriek belongs to a nurse standing at the door, her face stiff with shock.
どうやってベッドを壊したんだね、四季君。
Now, while I haven't watched the Heaven's Feel movies, I've heard they at least handled the sensitive stuff in a way that wasn't like that most people found fine, so again, we'll just have to see. I noticed the doctor hasn't asked me why I broke it, but how.
その線をなぞったら切れたんだよ。ねえ、どうしてこの病院はひびだらけなの？
いい加減にしないか、四季君。そんな線なんてないんだ。それで、どうやってベッドを壊したんだい？怒らないから教えてくれないかな。
だから線をなぞっただけなんだ。
わかった。この話はまた明日にしよう。
The doctor lets out a sigh. He stopped smiling as soon as I mentioned the scribbles. I guess his switch is broken. This hospital's full of broken things. In the end, no one believed me. No matter what it is, I can cut it cleanly by slicing the lines with a knife. I don't even need to put any muscle into it. It's easy, like cutting paper with a pair of scissors. The bed, the chair, the desk, the walls, and even the floor. None of them are any different. And I've never tried it, but I'm positive it would be the same for people too. Kid's like 8, I think, right here. Like, imagine being like a 2nd grader being like, if I cut you in half. No one else can see the scribbles. Only I can. I think it's because everything is falling apart, and these are the seams holding them together. Just like my chest, it still hasn't fully healed after the operation, so they've stitched me up where it would otherwise fall apart. That's gotta be it. I mean, how else could a kid like me cut up a whole wall? The nurse screams again. Seeing the holes in the wall, she glares in my direction. Her shriek goes on and on. Luckily, something is up with my ears, so it doesn't sound all that loud to me. The drawn-out noise fills me with dread, like the sound of a burning cicada. Oh, I'd fucking lose it. Like, that's kind of the whole point of his eyes, is that they make you lose it if, like, you keep looking at it. Everything is in tatters. The idea of opening my eyes, of living at all, is enough to make me want to disappear. Now, yeah, I'd probably be, like, right where he is right now. All this time, I never knew about the stitches holding the world together, and how easily they can break. No one else sees them. That's why they can go on living just fine. They don't know about the cracks all around us. They don't know how damaged their lives are. But I see it all. It chills me to the bone, holding me in place. Since it happened, everything sounds muffled, like my ears have been stuffed. Only the gash in my chest screams like a siren. But what happened, and when? No matter how hard I try, I can't remember. And scratching my head over it doesn't help either. My brain must have gotten rid of that information to make space for something more important. But the questions still leak out, like water from a tap. Oh, I think I get it. The pieces all fit. That's why there's no mirror in here. If there was, the very first thing I'd do is... it. I'd be laughing while it lay there shattered. Which means they're not the ones in danger of breaking. It's me who's broken. Now it all makes sense. Why 2 weeks have passed and no one believes me. Why 2 weeks have passed and no one's come to see me. Why 2 weeks have passed and I'm the only one living in this stitched together world. I don't want to be in this hospital anymore. I don't want to be surrounded by these scribbles. I have to get somewhere far away, where there won't be any people around. I'm not the weird one. It's this place that's weird, is what I tell myself as I make a run for it. But the wound in my chest stops me from getting too far. By the time I realize it, I've ended up in the field next to the hospital. I didn't get very far at all. My chest is burning. I squat to the ground miserably, batting a bout of coughs. I can't stay here, but I can't go anywhere else either. There's nowhere to go for someone who can see all of the stitching. Another wave of coughs hits me. No one's around. Sea of grass at the end of the summer. It would be the worst place to disappear. The thought is suddenly interrupted.
君、そんなところでしゃがんでると危ないわよ。
Yeah, there she is! It's the goat! The voice of a woman cuts through to my ears, clear as crystal.
絵じゃないでしょ。ただでさえちっこいんだから草むらでうずくまってると見えないのよね。気をつけなさい。危うく蹴り飛ばされるところだったんだから。
It's the drip god herself. Do I hide the... Yeah, there we go. The woman scolds away, her finger pointing at me grumpily. I feel anger creep up inside me. I'm not that small. I'm only the 4th shortest in my class. Dude, bro's coping so hard.
蹴り飛ばされるって誰に？
バカね。そんなの決まってるじゃない。ここにいるのは私と君だけなんだから。私以外に誰がいるっていうの？
The woman sure looks proud of herself, crossing her arms like that.
ま、ここで会ったのも何かの縁だし、少し話し相手になってくれない？私は青崎青子って言うんだけど、君は？
Aoko, this isn't fate, this is Tsukihime. She speaks casually, like one friend to another, and offers out her hand. Seeing no reason to refuse, I introduce myself as Shiki Tono, and accept her offered hand, like I'm being pulled in magnetically. Talking to her is fun. She doesn't shoot down anything I say just because I'm a kid. And she treats me like a person, listening to my every word. I tell her all about myself. I tell her about home, about my long family lineage, how my dad is tough on etiquette and stern all the time. I'm semi-blind because I've both read the original and I've read a couple of hours of the fan translation of the remake. How I have a little sister, Akiha, who's really quiet and follows me everywhere. How I always play with Akiha and our friends in the garden, which is as big as a forest since we have a huge mansion. How the attic is our secret spot. How I'm bad at word games. How everyone says I'm going to grow taller. How I used to like the smell of hospitals, but now I don't. How I love the sky when it's clear and blue, but looking at it makes me want to cry. How I'm glad to be alive. How I don't even hate the doctor with a pretend smile. I surprise myself. I keep yapping away feverishly.
おっと、もうこんな時間。悪いわね、シキ。私、ちょっと用事があるから、お話はここまでにしましょう。
The woman starts to leave. The thought of being alone again fills me with sadness.
じゃあまた明日。ここで待ってるからね。君もちゃんと病室に帰って、きちんと医者の言いつけを守るんだぞ。
She says it so naturally, as if the idea that we weren't going to meet again tomorrow hadn't even crossed her mind, and leaves.
また明日。
We'll get to talk. We'll get to talk again tomorrow, just like we did today. I'm so happy. It's It's the first time I've felt something so strongly since waking up from the accident. Going to the grassy field in the afternoon has become a regular thing. The lady would get angry whenever I called her Aoko. She seems to hate her own name. Unsure what to call her at first, I eventually settled on Master. Master always listens to whatever I have to say, and solves each and every one of my problems. Since the accident, I've hated talking to people, but thanks to her, I'm slowly becoming my old self again. Being here on the grassy field is the only time my worries slip away and I feel like the old me. I don't know who she really is, but I get the sense she could actually be a real teacher at some school. Not that it's any of my business. Being around her is fun. That's all that matters.
ねえ先生、僕こんなことができるよ。
I want to surprise her. I pull out a knife I took from the hospital, and I cut the tree standing in the field. Tracing the lines, I slice from the center of the tree to the bark.
すごいでしょ。落書きが見えてるところならどこだって簡単に切れるんだよ。こんなの他の誰にもできないよね。
She's flabbergasted. I get into a groove and decide to sink my knife into a horizontal line across the base of the tree. She rushes towards me, and I feel the palm of her hand slap my cheek.
先生、やめなさい。君は今とても軽率なことをしたわ。
She stares at me seriously. It's an unforgiving look, the determined gaze of someone about to punish an evildoer. How could I be so stupid? I was having so much fun, I completely forgot. These scribbles shouldn't exist, which means someone like me, who can see them, shouldn't exist either. A feeling of regret seeps into my chest like blood. I wish I could crawl up into a ball and die. That tree was the last reminder that this field was once a forest. And desperate to show off, I went and destroyed it, for no real reason at all.
ごめんなさい。
I feel tears trickle down my face. I know boys shouldn't cry, but I can't help it.
四季。
I hear my name called softly. Suddenly, even with the knife still in my hand, she hugs me tight.
謝る必要はないわ。うん。まあ、確かに四季は怒られるようなことをしたけど、それは決してあなただけが悪いってわけじゃないんだから。悪いのは僕だけじゃない。ええ。でもね、四季。それとは別のところで、今誰かが君を叱っておかないと取り返しのつかないことになる。だから私はあなたを一人の人間として見た。同じ立場の人間として意見して、怒って本気で叩いた。力加減を間違えていたら、私も四季を殺していたかもってくらい本気。
Sis was literally like, I ain't gonna sugarcoat it, Shiki. Back quarter circle C. Her words truly frighten me. It isn't that I'm afraid of her killing me, but that I had pushed her into almost doing so. The thought of it makes my heart sink.
泣かないで、四季。私も謝らないから。あなたはそれだけのことをしたんだって覚えていてほしいから。ん？その代わり、四季は私のことを嫌ってもいいわ。うん。先生のこと嫌いじゃないよ。そう。本当によかった。私が君に出会ったのはこのためだったみたい。
Aoko, you gotta stop saying fate. Wrong franchise. And just like that, as if to melt away my feeling of regret, she quietly asks me about the scribbles I keep seeing. When I start telling her about the lines, I feel her hug me tighter.
四季、君が見ているものは現実のものよ。決して見えてはいけないものだとしても、他の人間にとってはありえないことだとしても、その線は幻じゃない。 あなただけにある現実。
そっか。じゃあやっぱりおかしいのは僕だけなんだね。
ええ、あなたはおかしい。そこはごまかしようがない。
Fight back the tears. What she said stings 1,000 times more than when the doctor doubted me. But it's not like I didn't see this coming. From the very start, from the moment I woke up, I've known the truth. I shouldn't even be alive.
謝らないで。その異常はおかしいだけで説明がつかないものじゃない。道理が通っているものなら人間は何にだって向かっていける。これ私の経験則ね。どんなに馬鹿げたデタラメがやってきても知恵と勇気で乗りこなすのが私たち人間よ。
My first lesson, she calls it, with a hint of embarrassment. Having a strange condition isn't a problem itself. The problem is how I choose to deal with it.
じゃあこの落書きも説明できる？
もちろん。ものにはね、壊れやすい箇所というものがある。いつか壊れる私たちは壊れるがゆえに完全じゃない。君の目はそういったものの末路、言い換えれば未来を見てしまっているんでしょう。
未来を見てるの？
そうよ。今はそれ以上は知らなくていい。もし君がそういう流れに沿ってしまう時が来るなら、必然としてそれなりの理屈を知ることになるでしょう。
先生、何のことだかよくわからない。
Me half of the times when Nasu starts explaining how powers work in his universes. Now, most of the time it's fine, but sometimes he uses a lot of big words, is all I'm trying to say.
分かっちゃダメ。今大事なのは一つだけ。その線は決していたずらに切ってはいけない。君の目は物の命を軽くしすぎてしまうから。
先生が言うならしない。それになんだか胸が痛いんだ。ごめんね先生、もう二度とあんなことはしないから。
よかった。四季、今の気持ちを絶対に忘れないで。そうしていれば君は必ず幸せになれるんだから。
She uncoils her arms, freeing me from her embrace. The sensation, cold and yet warm, fades away.
でも先生、この落書きが見えてると不安なんだ。だってこの線を引けば切れちゃうんでしょ。なら僕の周りはいつバラバラになってもおかしくないじゃないか。
その問題は私が何とかするわ。どうやらそれが私がここに来た理由のようだし。
She heaves a long sigh and then smiles at me.
四季、明日君にとっておきのプレゼントを。私が君を以前の生活に戻してあげる。
The next day. On the 7th day since I first met Master, she comes to the field, hauling a huge trunk with one hand.
はい、これをかけていればもう妙な落書きは見えなくなるはず。
She hands me an ordinary pair of glasses.
僕、目は悪くないよ。
いいからかけなさい。度は入ってないから。
I do as she says and put them on. And the moment I do,
すごいよ先生。落書きがちっとも見えない。
当たり前よ。わざわざ姉貴のところの魔眼殺しを奪ってまで作った青崎青子渾身の一品なんだから。粗末に扱ったらただじゃおかないからね、四季。
Oko mention.
大事にする。けど先生ってすごいね。あれだけ嫌だった線がみんな消えちゃって、なんだか魔法みたいだこれ。
それも当然。だって私魔法使いだもん。
A smug grin stretches across her face as she drops the trunk to the ground.
でもね、四季、 その線は消えたわけじゃないわ。ただ見えなくしているだけ。そのメガネを外せば線はまた見えてしまう。
見えないだけ？
ええ、そればっかりはもう直しようがないことよ。君はその目となんとか折り合いをつけて生きていくしかないの。
やだ、こんな怖い目いらない。またあの線を切っちゃったら先生との約束が守れなくなる。
ああ、もう二度と線を切らないっていうあれか。バカね。あんな約束気軽に破っていいわよ。
そうなの？だってすごくいけないことだって言ったじゃないか。
ええ、いけないことよ。けどその目は誰にも頼らない君個人の力なんだもの。だからそれを使おうとするのは君の自由。その目があることについて君以外の他の誰も君を責めることはできない。問われることがあるとしたら、あなたがその力で何をしたかということだけよ、チキ。
僕が何をするか。
He stares into my eyes as if trying to peer inside.
そういうこと。うん、やっぱりいい目だ。正直言うとね、初めて君と会った時、めんどくさいのにぶつかっちゃったなーって思ったんだ。だって君、見た感じいろいろなくしてきたみたいだから。でも問題なんてなかった。君はちゃんと生きている。なら人生かけて取り返していきなさい。
Even with a whole lifetime, I could never find the words to describe the light I felt in my chest or the rush of joy that came with it. You belong here. She reaffirmed my reason for being, more forcefully than anyone.
シキ、君は個人が保有する能力の中でもひどく得意な能力を持ってしまった。けどそれが君にあるということは何かしらの意味があるということなの。神様は何の意味もなく力を分けない。君の未来には必要になる時があるから、その直視の目があるとも言える。それは残酷なことだろうけど。
Mystic Eyes of Death Perception, still one of the rawest power names, like, ever. And that's even by Nasu standards. So, kudos. Peak.
だからこそ忘れないで。君はとてもまっすぐな心をしている。今の君がある限り、その目は決して間違った結果は生まないでしょう。成人になれなんてことは言わない。君は君が正しいと思う大人になればいい。いけないということを素直に受け止められて、ごめんなさいと言える君なら、10年後にはきっと素敵な男の子になってるわ。
God damn it, I keep thinking of the Carnival Phantasm bit where they just made Aoko a groomer. God damn it. She stands and reaches out for the trunk.
でもよっぽどのことがない限りメガネは外しちゃダメだからね。特別な力は特別な力を呼ぶものだし。はい、私からの忠告。反則の出しどころ、勝負どころをよく考える。そうならないことを祈っているけど、どうしても自分の手には負えないと判断した時だけメガネを外してよ。その力自体は決して悪いものじゃない。結果をいいものにするか悪いものにするかはあくまで君の判断次第なんだから。
She picks up the trunk, and without her even saying a word, I know. It's time for us to say our goodbyes.
無理だよ先生。僕だけじゃいいことになんてできない。本当は先生に会うまで怖くてたまらなかった。けど先生がいてくれたから僕は僕に戻れたんだ。ダメなんだ。先生がいなくちゃこんなメガネがあったってダメに決まってるじゃないか。
シキ、心にもないことは言わないこと。自分自身も騙せないような嘘は 聞いている方を不快にさせるわ。
Aster's displeasure is readily apparent in her expression. She then flicks my forehead.
自分でも分かっているんでしょ？もう大丈夫だって。ならそんなつまらないことを言ってせっかく掴んだ自分を捨ててはいけないわ。それじゃあお別れね。バイ、シキ。どんな人間だって人生ってのは落とし穴だらけなのよ。君はそれを何とかできる力があるんだから、もっとちゃんとしなさい。
She's really leaving. I'm sad, but as her friend, I want to see her off right.
さよなら、先生。よし、上出来上出来。その息でいつまでも元気でね。最後の教訓。ピンチの時はまず落ち着いて、その後によく考えること。大丈夫。君なら一人でもちゃんとやっていけるから。
She smiles fondly. A gust of wind sweeps through, sending a ripple across the sea of grass. She's gone.
バイバイ、先生。
As I say the words, the realization that I'll never see her again sinks in. Left with me are a treasure trove of advice and a strange pair of glasses. In just 7 days, I feel like I've learned the most important things of all. As I stand there aimlessly, tears start welling up. I'm such an idiot. All I said was goodbye. Not once did I say thank you. I'm discharged from the hospital soon after. I won't be going back to the Tono household. Instead, I'm to be taken in by another family. My body has recovered, but there are still lasting symptoms. To the Tonos, this means I'm defective. I'm no longer needed. But I don't care. Cheeky Tono is going to be fine on his own. A new life and a new family are waiting for me. I leave behind the hospital room where I spent my 10th summer. The curtains by my window sway in the breeze, just like always. I take in one last glimpse of the blue sky. As I do, a dry breeze washes over me, spelling the end of summer. Day 1. Homecoming 1. The tracks take a sudden dive, leaving the surface behind. Casting an artificial light across the tunnel walls, the train makes its way through the darkness. The car creaks around me. Man-made lights pass by at regular intervals. The vibration through the seat lulls me into a reflection on this short little journey. It's early, 6:33 a.m. 30 minutes have come and gone since I got on this train. That's how long it's been since I said goodbye to the people who took care of me all this time. How I react to this probably says a lot about me as a person. I'm sure some people might feel sad and wish they could have stayed longer. Others would accept it without a second thought. I wonder which side I fall on. I realize after a moment that I don't really feel either. I'm the only one sitting on the 8-seater bench. The seats in front of me are empty. There are only a couple of other people on the train, including a sleeping man in a suit on the bench next to mine, and a woman standing in front of the door. It may be early, but it feels particularly empty today. The noise from outside is strangely muted, but maybe I'm just lost in thought. The train vaguely reminds me of a spaceship traveling through the darkness of outer space. No sound can reach it out here. The only things here are my stupid daydreams, the sound of my heart beating, and my memories from an hour ago. It came like a bolt from the blue. Makihisa Tono has died. Shiki Tono is to return to the Tono household immediately. The first contact I'd had from my family in 7 years, and that's how it goes. The Tono family's word is final. I'm still a student, and they pay for all my expenses. But choosing to return to the mansion today, instead of yesterday, was my one act of defiance. I just wanted to stay a little longer at the home where I'd spent so much of my life. It was all I could do for the family that took me in and treated me like their own. Thank you for breakfast. It was delicious. I finish my meal and leave the table before the sun even rises. After taking one final glance at my room, I clap my hands together in thanks. It's not much for all the time I've stayed here, but I don't want to leave anything unsaid. I led a happy life here. That's what I want to carry away with me. Keiko saw me off alone as I left the Arima household. I asked to leave quietly, without waking the others. Thank you for everything. Give my regards to Dad and Miyako for me. They are still cowards for not actually showing Miyako. Show me the best Melty character. 7 years. The woman who had acted as my mother in that time looked terribly sad. I never once thought I'd see her like this. Life may be hard at the Tono Mansion, but you'll be okay, understand? Don't ever do it. Make sure to look over your health, first and foremost. I take her words of encouragement to heart. My time spent with them was peaceful. I just hope I didn't cause the Arimas too much trouble during my time with them. It's been 7 years. I've had plenty of time to recover. I'm a lot sturdier than I look, you know. Yes, you're right. The Tonos are quite the unusual family, but you're not one to let that bother you. You've always been a strong boy. She smiles through her sadness, and I smile back. I'm happy that she still considers me to be her child. I think you're giving me a little too much credit. Well, I should get going. Take care, Mom. Goodbye, Shiki. Take care. Keiko knows that I won't be coming back. She sends me off with tears in the corners of her eyes. That was just 40 minutes ago. That moment marked the end of my previous life, and the start to my new one. The view outside shifts slowly. We must have crossed the river that separates the suburban Yashirogi and arrived in the city of Soya. The train begins its return climb to the surface. I can feel the gentle incline. Bright light shines through, piercing my eyes, which had grown accustomed to the artificial dimness of the subway. The train sweeps toward the city. The majority of its inhabitants are still asleep. Outside, the air is chilly. A fall morning in the month of October. The heat of summer is little more than a faint memory now. I wish that was the case. Dude, it's July now, never mind. I can't even say it's like so early it shouldn't be this hot, but no, it's just regularly getting weather in the 90s now. Yippee! I've watched the same view nearly every day for a year and a half now, but this is the last time I'll be taking this train to school. Memories of the past 7 years rush by like the scenery outside the window. I survived a terrible injury that would have killed most 10-year-olds. I met the woman that would become my master, my mentor in life. I went to live with the Arima family, and now I'm halfway through my 2nd year. The thing Master feared might happen when we parted never came to pass, and as long as I have these glasses on, I don't have to worry about seeing those lines again. And so, Shiki Tono has led an ordinary, though at times difficult, life. That all changes today. There's nothing major, like feeling I don't belong or anything like that. I just don't feel right going back to the way things were before. Having lived a normal life these past few years, the Tono family's way of doing things just seems like a pain. Or at least, more trouble than it's worth.
だいたい学校より広い洋館とか想像つかないんですけど。
I need to make one of those memes where it's like, Yo, is that a, like, Nasuverse reference and just include, like, sociopathic main character, inexplicable Western mansion in Japan, urban horror elements. Like, I'm sure there's enough to, like, make a meme, like, in that format. I'm surprised I was able to handle it when I was a child. The thought of going back to that old-fashioned way of life is daunting, to say the least. Train stops at a large station for a few minutes. The local line I'm taking has to wait for the express to pass. The platform is empty. Usually, I would expect to see morning commuters in suits on their way to work, but it's particularly quiet today. The express passes by on the neighboring rails. Thank you for your patience. The next stop is an announcement I've heard hundreds of times plays. The door closes with a hiss of air. I see that there are 4 stations left to Soya Station, the station where my school... A girl wearing my school's uniform slips through the automatic doors as they close. Her ribbon is green, so she must be a 3rd year. I feel like I've seen her before. The bag she's holding in her hands must contain things for her club activities. Our eyes meet for a moment. The girl continues to stare at me. Just when I notice that she's walked closer. She's so chunky now. Like, she's much more like... I don't know. Definitely a lot more oomphy coated.
いえ、こっちこそすいません。ジロジロ見ちゃって。
The way she smiles has me apologizing almost by reflex.
いえいえ、目立つようなことをした私に非があるんです。先輩として恥ずかしいところを見せてしまいました。でも、朝は弱いって話、本当なんですね。
Girl laughs lightly. I'm distracted by her laughter and...
ほら、私ですよ。先週会ったばっかりなのに、もう忘れちゃったんですか？
あれ？シエル先輩。
In an instant, my memory is jolted awake. I knew she felt familiar. I've crossed paths with her a number of times. And now that I think about it, there's probably not a person in the whole school who doesn't know CL. Soya High's most revered 3rd year. Happy to offer advice to any distraught 1st year. Eager to solve the woes of any troubled 2nd year. And quick to save underclassmen from the ire of the 3rd years. Some students call her the true student council president, considering most people rely on her over the teachers or our actual student council. Oh. She even helped me with something just last week. Man, how out of it am I? CL is right about how I hate mornings, but thinking about returning home for the first time in 7 years must be killing my brain cells. Ooh, okay, decision time. First of all, I very much appreciate a flowchart. Always happy to get those in your VNs. Now, we have important decisions to make. I can't think of a single thing to say. I think of something to ask. I take the opportunity to admire what's in front of me. I mean... Oh. I can't help but be intrigued. My eyes drop from the bag on her shoulder down to her legs. Not... Oh no. I mean, those legs, they're nothing short of amazing. Absolute perfection. Coursing with the quiet energy of flowing water, they feel ready to surge into motion at any moment. I try to pull my eyes away, but I'm utterly transfixed. They're truly a work of art.
遠野くん
Never before have I seen strength and beauty in such perfect harmony. Although they're pleasantly defined, they are a sprinter's legs at heart. Rumor has it that CL set a new school record, outside of the track team anyway, during the fitness test the other day. These legs ran 100 meters in 13 seconds. They're more valuable than diamonds.
ですね、顔が近いというか、その持ち上げた手の動きが
Fuck
で
is
すね。
what is bro doing right now?
すみません。今真剣な話をしているところなので。
はあ、真剣ですか。
Why is this still going? Cheeky, come on, man. But it's not like I'm her trainer, or a rival on the track, as much as I wish I were. Even if I were to unveil all the secrets of her speed, it wouldn't do me any good.
あ、いえ、でもですね、何が真剣なのかさっぱり話が見えないというか。
そりゃそうです。俺だって意味がわかりません。
How does one express how it feels to be captivated by such beauty? Some claim that true beauty cannot be expressed in words, but is it not defeatist to suggest that something beautiful cannot be called what it is? Will the day ever come when humanity transcends its myriad biases and prejudices to put to words the true nature of... I'll say, he deserved that bonk.
遠野くん、大丈夫ですか？今頭に何か当たりましたけど。
はい。寸出のところで助かりました。
Ignoring my throbbing head, I pick up the object that has fallen onto the seat. It's a shiny metallic object that fits perfectly in the palm of my hand. That is to say, it's a phone.
すみません。こちらに何か飛んできませんでしたか？
Hey, you're new.
これかな。ちょっとすごい角度で飛んできたけど。振り回して遊ぶアプリでも入ってたの？
バカじゃないですか。ありがとうございます。
The girl coolly retrieves her phone and moves to the other end of the car. CL and I stare at each other, speechless. For better or for worse, I've come back to my senses. I cough to try and reset the conversation.
すみません。ちょっとぼーっとしてました。それよりどうしたんですか？先輩、部活やってませんよね。
いえ、何を隠そう。ボランティア活動の帰りなんです。ほら、生徒会公募で公園のゴミ拾いがあったでしょ。あれをちゃちゃっと先ほどまで。
Ah, now it all makes sense. CL is always running around helping out somebody or another, looking lovely in those glasses all the while.
早朝から30分だけの奉仕活動だったんですけどね。他の皆さんは一旦帰宅したんですが、私は面倒なのでこのまま投稿してしまおうかと。
Oh, I'm just noticing, this is like replacing that whole scene in the original where she's like doing that thing in the garden. Okay. Let's say, because that was also like a volunteer work scene. Her bag clatters as she shifts it on her shoulder. I had assumed it was full of club equipment, but it must be cleaning stuff.
おや、中身見たいんですか？先輩の持ち物をチェックするなんておとなしそうに見えて大胆ですね。
She draws closer and looks into my eyes. Her face is so close to mine that I can feel the warmth of her body. Flustered, I can't figure out where to look.
いえ、そういうわけじゃなくてですね。もし折りたたみ式のほうきとか熊手とかなら珍しいなと。
ほうほう、私の万能高枝切りばさみも見たいと。よろしい。それでしたら放課後いつもの茶道部に来てください。あなたなら大歓迎です。
Faced with such a heartfelt smile, I ended up blushing. I'd like to say something clever or witty, but a simple yes is all I can manage. I don't even know which room the tea ceremony club meets in, but I'll figure that out later.
約束ですよ。ここだけの話、部費で購入したお茶受けが余ってしまいまして、日持ちするものではないので、元気な男の子の協力が不可欠なんです。
そうですか。じゃあ予定が合えばぜひ。でも食べ物に釣られていくなんて、なんか猫みたいですね。
Ciel's warm smile makes me feel comfortable enough to crack a joke. She adjusts the green ribbon around her neck.
どちらかというとワンちゃんではないでしょうか。というか、猫科はよくありません。最後まで頼りになるのは律儀で頭のいい犬科です。
Be a shame if there was some kind of cat-coated vampire in the same town as you, but you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For reasons I don't quite understand, she seems to feel strongly about this. As we're both heading to the same place, we continue to chat. We talk about last week's midterms. We wonder why the sports festival has been reduced to a one-day event. We complain about the cafeteria always serving the same things. After getting into a heated discussion about the plan to restrict phones at school, we tire each other out, sigh in unison, and change the subject. We laugh as we trade opinions on the movies we've seen recently. 15 minutes go by in a flash. It's easy talking with her. She is, after all, incredibly popular among everyone. I don't want this to end, but we only have a few minutes left before we get to Soya Station. I try to bring up something else to talk about, but
ちょっとうるさいんですけど。
we've forgotten where we are. Ciel and I bow our heads in apology.
怒られちゃいましたね。
She's the biggest hater around.
ごめんなさい。私の笑い声が大きかったんです。きっと。
With that, our conversation comes to a halt. The friendly cheer that filled the air just moments ago has vanished. It's quickly replaced by that familiar city silence, that cold space in which everyone is a stranger. Train pulls into Soya Station. It's just before 7 a.m. I left for school a bit early today, so the town hasn't quite woken up yet. It's quiet right now, but in about an hour it'll be bustling with traffic and commuters.
今朝も交通量が少なめですね。最近街の目覚めが遅い気がします。皆さん夜更かしなんでしょうかね。
As Ciel shares this odd observation, I notice how heavy her bag looks.
荷物学校まで持って行きましょうか。
ああ、いえいえ、お気になさらず。私は寄っていくところがありますので、ここでお別れですね。
She smiles a goodbye and waves as she runs off. Her lithe legs carry her so swiftly I almost expect a comical whoosh. I feel an urge to start running too, though there's no reason for me to hurry. I probably shouldn't be running anyway, considering my condition. I start walking towards school at my usual pace. But just as I set off, the girl from before emerges from the ticket gates. She passes by briskly, slowing only to share a few choice words.
動物的にも程があります。公共の場で恥ずかしいと思わないんですか？
Sis is literally chastising us for getting too horny, which is fair. I was not expecting that prompt to go the way it did. And with that, she stalks away. Make my way to school, my steps heavier than usual. It's just about 7 when the main entrance to the school comes into view. Students hurry through the gate to go to their club activities. They must be trying to make the most of their time before homeroom starts at 8. Soya Municipal High School, an old school celebrating 40 years since its founding. Our college admission rate isn't bad, our clubs do fine, and the rules aren't particularly strict. It's as normal a school as you can find. The only complaint male students have is that their uniforms are too old-fashioned, but the school doesn't pay much attention to it. As for the girls, their uniforms were changed 3 years ago. Apparently, the school was worried that keeping the older sailor uniforms would lead to a drop in enrollment. Something feels out of place on my usual walk to the school. Things feel busier than usual. Pale-faced teachers rush to the faculty room. A black car I've never seen before is parked in the parking lot. There's a chill in the air. Images flash through my mind. A sparsely attended funeral, the cold black of a hearse. I sigh at my own dark thoughts. Trying to shake off the uneasy feeling growing inside me, I head for the classroom. There's no one else here yet. I sit in my chair and kill time until homeroom begins. More people begin to fill the room as I get in on some studying.
およー、本日の朝練無事終了のお知らせ。
あれ一番乗りは私らじゃないんだ。通るの早くない？
ああ、あれか、ボランティア。でも今日だったっけ？やっば、俺サボったかも。
The students of 2C get along well compared to the other classes. We're pretty casual with each other before taking our seats. I catch up with classmates who have just ended their club activities. We go through your typical laundry list of things, from last night's ancient news to stuff that happened just minutes ago at school. We're just talking to pass the time, but this is an important morning ritual of ours. A warm-up exercise to start off the day. We'd only tire ourselves out if we tried to have real conversations about everything, especially in this age of information. That is the other thing too. Tsukihime. Whoa. Oh, I forgot that the triggers like reset you to the start of the page. That's interesting. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I know that one of the big things with this compared to the original is like they moved time up. So like this takes place in basically modern time. Like they got smartphones and stuff, which is distinctly very different from the original, which was in like 2000, I think. So can't exactly be taking Snapchats of vampires, but curious to see how that changes things. The mood in the classroom changes suddenly. Lively chatter dies down to a whisper.
Oh
my god. Is it him? Is it the goat? Crude remarks you wouldn't expect to hear among this otherwise harmonious bunch cut through the tranquility. I don't even need to turn around to know who it is. Only one person could do this to a room.
Jeez! Good morning, Megane-kun! 今朝も新規臭い顔しやがって。まったくクソみたいな野郎ですね。
The most real character to ever exist. Saving that one for later. Yep, only him. A delinquent with little respect for the sanctity of our school.
おい、挨拶どうした？人が珍しく朝から来てやってんのに、おはようの言葉もなしですか？むしろ朝からいてくれてありがとうぐらいの気持ちはないのですか？
ないよ。朝から濃い顔見てげんなりしてるだけ。そもそもありがとうとかないし、お前のために学校に来てるわけじゃないし。
何？バカ言うなよ。俺は遠野のために学校に来てるんだぞ。そんなの不公平じゃんか。
I'm at a loss for words. Sometimes I wonder why we're even friends. He has a dyed head of orange hair and piercings in his ears. Sporting a perpetual scowl that's practically begging for a fight, he seems to follow the delinquent dress code to a T. Though his brand of counterculture might be just a little bit out of style, he still looks the part of a good punk. His name? Arihiko Inui.
まあいいか。朝から教室に来るのはいいことだ。おはよう、アリヒコ。ついに出席日数を気にしだしたか？
いや、そこは別に気にしてない。まだまだ余裕はありますよ。今日は家に姉貴がいるんでサボれなくなっただけ。
That's a powerful expression. Didn't mean to hit that twice.
つうか朝まで鉄マンしてたんで、いい加減体力の限界だ。
Wish I knew how to play Mahjong.
そうか、すまない。挨拶をやり直させてくれ。おやすみ、クズヒコ。机に急げ。さっさと寝ろ。
Bro shows up to school to literally sleep.
何その冷めた反応。それが中学からのライバルに対する態度ですか？もっとこう熱い対応してくれませんかね。
なんで俺とお前がライバルなんだ。無軌道に行きたいんなら街で同行の死を見つけてろよ。あんまり構わないでくれ。
He does still owe me a bunch of money I lent him back in middle school, which makes him more of a moocher than a rival.
どうしてかな。遠野ってば俺にだけ冷たいよな。他の奴らには聖人君子みたいなやつなのに不公平じゃね？
なんだ、分かってるじゃないか。世の中公平なことってあんまりないだろ。
そりゃそうだけどよ。やっぱお前俺には特に冷たくね？
Arihiko lets out an exaggerated sigh. I don't mean to treat him any certain way. Everything just naturally ended up this way after years of, I guess, unfiltered treatment. We may have completely different interests and tastes, but we seem to operate on a similar wavelength.
まあ、家から逃げてきたはいいとして、普段から夜型のお前が朝から出席するなんて、どんな風の吹き回しだ？ちょっと、いや、かなり普通じゃないぞ。
This dude did not go to sleep.
まあな、俺だたまたま目が覚めたからって来るもんじゃねえよな。学校
Oh no, he actually did wake up early.
ぶっちゃけもう帰りてえ。ああ、やっぱ学生には勉強する意思とか必要なんですかね。
He's not wrong, but when he says it like that, it almost sounds like he wants an award just for making the trip to school.
そのあたりの議論は今度、暇な時に鏡に向けてやってくれ。俺が聞きたいのは、なんで街に行かないかってこと。カラオケでも漫画喫茶でも、時間潰すならそっちのがいいんじゃない？
そりゃあれだよ。最近は何かと物騒だからですよ。腹ごとこなすのもただじゃねえし、あっちには体力ある時しか顔出したくねえわけ。
物騒？
おお、遠野だって知ってんだろ、例のあれ。派手に出回ってる通り魔事件の話だよ。駅前のセンター街、夜になると警官も巡回しているしな。
Serial killer, you say?
そっか。そんな話もあったっけ？
Hearing Arihiko talk about it reminds me. The goings-on in Soya hadn't bothered me while I was living several stations away with the Arima family. It was all over the news. I seem to remember...
なんだっけ？すごく低俗な売り文句だったけど。深夜の通り魔事件だっけ？
連続猟奇殺人事件な。被害者は大抵若い女で、2日前に発見された仏さんで8人目。かつ全員の喉元にバツの字の傷跡があるとかないとか。
Weird. My mind can't even picture something like that.
違うよ、乾くん。殺されちゃった人はみんな体内の血液が著しく失われているだよ。
Yo! Oh my god. It's her. Yeah! That's what we've been waiting for! Let's go! Yumizuka pokes her head out and corrects us, likely drawn by how loud we are.
ああ、そうだったそうだった。現代の吸血鬼かっていう見出しだったもんな、あれ。サンキュー、ユミズカ。おはようさん。
乾くんもおはよう。ついでに言うと外傷には個人差があって、傷が全くない場合と損傷の激しいタイプに分かれてるだったかな。
Why do ladies love, like, reading about, like, crime?
詳しいんだね、弓塚さん。
そんなことないよ。
Sorry, gonna be doing that a lot whenever she's on screen.
この街で起きている事件なんだもん。ニュースを見てれば嫌でも覚えちゃうことだと思う。
とま、そういうことだよ、遠野。いくら俺でもな、夜中に殺人犯が出歩いているうちは夜遊びなんざしねっての。最近は真面目に家の中で夜更かししてるわけ。
なんだ、そんな理由だったのか。 まともすぎて逆に意外だ。殺人犯に怯えて家にこもるなんてお前らしくもない。
らしくないじゃねえよ。普通は殺人犯に怯えるだろう。こっちはやる気がねえのに、あっちだけやる気満々とか不意打ちにも程がある。絶対にごめんだね。俺はまだ人生棒に振りたくねえ。
ああ、そっか。そうだよな。狙われたらとことんまで付き合うしかないってことだもんな。
お前ねえ、そこは逃げるって選択肢はねえの？なんでとことんまで付き合うんだよ。
だって逃げられないんじゃないのか、そういう場合って。
遠野に振った俺がアホだった。実際の話、俺も殺人犯は気にしてねえ。ああいうのはほら、天才だろ。出会っちまう方に運がない。俺が街に出ないのはもっと現実的な理由でさ。最近北口駅前で新手のバカどもが湧いてんだよ。正直顔も見たくねえ。
The north exit, located on the opposite side of the station from the business district, is downtown Soya, a bustling hub that never sleeps. Arahiko lives on the north side of the station himself. These fools must be pretty bad if he's going to such lengths to avoid them.
どうのも聞いたことねえか？度胸試しのようなもの。秘密の入り口から地下道に入って奥までつければ大金が手に入るってやつ。
That doesn't sound sus at all.
それなら私も聞いたことあるけど、それってただの階段じゃなかった？
Alright, I will actually be right back. I'm gonna run to the restroom.
「
Alright, and we're back. Also went ahead and re-promoted the stream on Twitter.
ああ、結構昔からある都市伝説だったらしい。それを儲け話っぽく仕立てて利用してるバカどもがいるんだよ。どっから流れてきた新参者か知んねえが、おかげで北口の空気の悪さはシャレにならねえ。俺、基本的に痛いの嫌だし、あんだけ派手にやってればポリも動くだろうし、連中が捕まるのでしばらく自重して家にこもってんのよ。
Urban legend on the north side of the station. I guess I hadn't heard of it since I didn't live nearby. Oh, I suppose it'll be my problem too, starting today.
なんだよ、反応薄いな。
I do like that the sprites had a subtle tint when they were doing like that cutaway, and then like fades away as they fade back in.
さてはあれか？朝から貧血でぶっ倒れたのか？
いや、今朝はまだ大丈夫。心配してくれるのはありがたいんだけどね。そう四六時中貧血を起こしてたら体が持たないよ。
まあそりゃもっともだ。遠野が大丈夫だって言うんならまあ大丈夫なんだろうよ。
ほら、授業が始まるぞ。早く席に戻って寝ろ。
はいよ。と、そうそう。今日の昼飯な、食堂でするからな。驚きの特別ゲストをお呼びしているので楽しみにしてやがれ。
Hiko laughs suspiciously as he saunters back to his seat.
それじゃあね、遠野くん。
あ、うん。弓塚さんも付き合わせて悪かったね。
She walks back to her desk, her footsteps light as a feather. "5 minutes after the bell for homeroom, and our teacher still hasn't appeared. Just as homeroom is about to end, the teacher next door drops by to tell us that Miss Toyama won't be coming today.
やったー！今日の数学自習じゃん。
Someone sounds like they just won the lottery. Miss Toyama is our math teacher. With her absent, we'll have free study instead. Once you finish the worksheet you're given, you're free to spend the rest of the time however you want. Some use the time to study, but others just kill time. I start on my worksheet. I actually have no problem with studying. I quit going to after-school lessons as a child, but that was after I was told getting into a good school would be impossible for someone with my condition. Whether you choose to go to college or straight into the workforce, knowledge is never a bad thing to have. That is true. I raise my head after solving a few problems and look over to the students near the hallway. I can only hear bits and pieces of their conversations, sitting as far away from them as I am.
やっぱり信じられない。
朝練の時、先生たちが結相会で職員室に。
まだ噂だから。
でもそんな簡単に。
Oh, she did.
ひどいよ。なんでそんなことに。
Something certainly feels wrong, I think, knitting my eyebrows.
昨日の事件。
校長室に刑事っぽい二人組が。
I brace myself for what's coming. As familiar as I am with this feeling, I find myself not wanting to accept it. I hold my breath in anticipation for the words to come.
だからさ、遠山。昨日死んだらしいよ。
I close my eyes, trying to hold back a headache. Okay, not gonna lie, that like rewind feature on the triggers is honestly... Is there a way to turn that off? Okay, there's no way to turn that off. That's a little annoying. Oh my god, I forgot that this, like, that PlayStation has mouse support. Like, you could literally just plug in a mouse and play this like a regular visual novel. The morning passes without the rumor of Miss Toyama spreading much farther. Classroom is a mess now that it's lunch. Some go to the cafeteria, others go to the courtyard, while still others stay in the room and open their lunches at their desks. What should I do for lunch? I'll meet up with Arihiko in the cafeteria, I'll stay in the classroom, or I'll go out into the hallway for now. No, we're gonna chill. We're just gonna vibe in the classroom. Guess I'll stay in the classroom. I can't work up the energy to move. I know the value of a full stomach, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't hungry, but I just don't have the appetite for anything right now. I vaguely remember Arihiko mentioning something earlier, but I'll worry about that later. Right now, all I want to do is sit in my chair and save my energy.
あ、よかった。教室に残ってた。
I hear a familiar voice close by. I look behind me to see who the voice belongs to.
乾くんと食堂に行ってなかったんだね。危うく探しに行くところだった。
ちょっと食欲なくて。それより何かあった、弓塚さん。俺に声をかけるなんて、もしかしなくても一大事。
Yumizuka may be a classmate of mine, but we're not exactly what I'd call friends. We sometimes banter when Arihiko's around like this morning, but almost never one-on-one. The only explanation is that she has something urgent that she needs my help with.
まあ、そう思うよね。これまでがこれまでだし。
Yumizuka looks to the side, awkwardly. But only for a moment, then she quickly returns to her usual cheery self.
ハバナ先生が探してたよ。お家のことで話があるって言ってたけど。
うちのことって引っ越しについてかな。
Mr. Habano is in charge of all the second years. It's probably because Miss Toyama isn't around to sort things out for me.
ありがとう。すぐに行くよ。
Yo, you're back just in time for best girl.
けど、おかしいな。住所移転の手続きは昨日済ませたんだけど。
I force my tired body to stand up. Yumizuka continues to stand there, looking at me.
他にも連絡があったりする？
他にはもう本当何にもなくてですね。
Oh, got jump scared. I wonder if she isn't feeling well. Satsuki Yumizuka is one of the pillars of our class. She's bright, easy to get along with, and a hard worker. Anyone could see how much she cares about the people around her. A lot of the guys love her, and I don't think any of the girls talk bad about her. It's only natural that she's always surrounded by people. She's the opposite of a killjoy like me. Even though we're in the same class this year, we've barely talked. I didn't even think she remembered my name, to be honest.
遠野くん、ちょっと聞いていいかな。
いいよ。何？
込み入ったことならごめんね。今引っ越しって言ったけど、遠野くんどこかに引っ越しちゃうの？もしかして転校とか？
It makes sense that she'd ask, though she seems to have misunderstood things.
いや、住所が変わっただけ。引っ越し先もそうやだしね。そう大きな変化はないよ。夜行を気に入ってるし、転校とかないない。
そうだよね。うち入試厳しかったし、試験勉強すっごく頑張りました。
She is the single most unsubtle person ever, and I love her. Who knew? I'd assumed that Yumizuka could have gone to any school she wanted with her brains.
あ、でも遠野くんお家が変わるっていうことは、もしかして有馬さんのお家から出ることになったの？
そうだよ。名残惜しいけど、いつまでもお世話になってるわけにもいかないし。
Wait a second. I don't think I've told anyone at school about staying with the Arima family other than Arihiko.
ごめん。俺、弓塚さんに話したことあったっけ？
もちろん遠野くんから聞いた話だもん、これ。ずいぶん前の話だけどね。
そっか。それは、
I must have really been struggling for something to talk about. I can't remember the conversation, but if we were talking alone like this, it's possible I was desperate for a topic and let it slip.
それじゃ俺はこれで。幅野先生は職員室。
10分までに来ないと減点だって。いつも思うけど、一体何を減点するんだろうね。
Yumizuka giggles without a hint of sarcasm or scorn. I can't help but laugh alongside her. Mr. Habano is notorious for threatening to dock grades, but I doubt he'd actually do that to someone just for being late.
ところで、お昼はどうするの？
職員室に行くついでに食堂に寄ってくよ。有彦がいるだろうし。
そっか。じゃあまたね、遠野くん。
Yumizuka waves awkwardly and goes back to her group of girlfriends. I head over to the cafeteria after getting a grilling by Mr. Habano about my relation to the Tono family. It's as busy as always in the cafeteria today. It may not be full, but most tables are packed with students. Almost a third of the student body uses this facility, while other students who want to save a few bucks use the school store. I gaze at the students waiting with their order receipts in hand as I make my way to the table.
それで有彦、特別ゲストって誰？
それがまだおいでになさらぬ。食堂で待ち合わせだったんだが、ちょっと待っててくれ。様子を見てくる。
Arihiko hurries out of the cafeteria, leaving his curry udon behind. I haven't had lunch yet. I need them to not talk about food. And knowing Nasu, I know that's a big ask, but like, for once, just don't go ham talking about like food. I've ordered Chikara udon for myself. I hope he gets back before my noodles get soggy.
ダメだ。先輩どっか行っちまったらしい。
ゲストって3年生だったのか？
おお、面白い先輩だな。ここ数日アタックして、ようやくランチご一緒ツアーまで取り付けたんだよ。今日は他に約束ができたとかで、学校中を走り回ってるらしい。
忙しい人みたいだね。どうも。
忙しいっていうか、全自動マッサージ機みたいな人だ。
Arihiko breaks apart his disposable chopsticks, looking dejected.
今回は仕方ねえわな。じゃ、いただきますと。
はい、いただきます。
We both dig into our udon. A lot of irons in the fire. A strange way to describe someone. Suffice it to say that my curiosity has been piqued. But I'll ask him more about that later.
で、本当のところどうなんだよ。
だって何が？
今日お前が朝から教室にいた理由。いちこさんが家にいるって嘘だろ。あの人、今昼間の仕事についてるじゃんか。
I ask Arihiko as I slurp my Chikara udon. Ichiko is Arihiko's older sister, who works full-time. She's a bit of a mystery, but she's always taken good care of us.
ああ、そっか。バレるか。まあ、そのなんだ。との、今日から実家に戻るのか？
そうだけど、その話したっけ？
してねえよ。俺は姉貴から聞いただけ。それでだな。遠野がブルー入ってないか、ちょっと確認したくなってな。
Aw, he cares.
そうか。それで、成果は？
早起きするほど面白い見せ物じゃなかったぜ。がっかりですよ、がっかり。
ご期待に添えず申し訳ない。ほんと、有彦は暇人だな。
暇人だからゴシップ好きなんですよ。どうのさ、小学生の自分からよそに預けられてたんだろ。どんな理由かは知らないが、それから7年も経つんだ。なんで今になって感動してた息子を呼び戻すんだよ、お前さんの父親は。
感動されていたわけじゃない。なんとなく屋敷から出るように言われただけだ。
遠野君、君ね、なんとなくで子供を家から追い出す過程があったら、それは悲劇じゃなくて笑い話ですよ。ただし、ほら一歩手前、寒すぎて笑えねえけどな。
Arihiko laughs in an exaggerated manner. The way Arihiko never takes anything seriously is one of his best qualities. Truth is, my father and I had been on bad terms long before the car accident and hospitalization. The Tono family is a distinguished household, dating back centuries, with customs very different to those of a regular family. My childhood memories are of an enormous old house and the oppressive, antiquated practices of the family within. The Tono family is wealthy, with shares in a wide variety of companies. My father, Makihisa Tono, wasn't much of a businessman, but the assets he inherited from my grandfather were more than enough to help his businesses make a fortune. A mansion from another era, a high-class lifestyle that valued history and decorum. Any child would have found life in that mansion unbearably dull. So when I was told to go live with the Arimas, I had no qualms about leaving my real family behind. I think it was the best outcome I could have asked for. I got along well with the Arimas. Keiko and Fumiyomi treated me no differently than if I'd been their child by birth. I'd always wanted to be part of a normal family, and living with the Arimas gave me that opportunity. I don't have any regrets there. With one exception. My sister, Akiha. She was a year younger than me, and I left her behind at the Tono Manor. I wonder if Akiha resents me. I mean, why wouldn't she? I left her in that giant, lonesome house, with no one for company but that pig-headed old man. It's not hard to imagine what Akiha thinks of me, of the brother who ran away from it all.
そうだな。確かに。なんとなくで家から追い出されたら、そりゃ笑うしかない。
だろ？おまけに二度と敷居はまたぐなっていう決め台詞付きだ。世間様ではそういうのを感動って言うんだ。今まで聞かなかったけどな。お前、なんで感動されたんだ？
Yeah. I don't have a good answer for it myself. I think at the end it may have just been a lot of unfortunate coincidences. I was unlucky.
まあ、話したくないならいい。
Arihiko picks up his bowl with both hands and drinks down the broth. Lunch always feels so short. Ain't that the truth? I follow Arihiko's example and quickly down the rest of my food. God, the moment I went from, like, one of my old jobs where I used to get an hour for lunch to only getting 30 minutes for lunch, like, it's crazy how much, like, just 30 extra minutes, like, makes it feel more like a break. Alright, school comes to an end for the day. I look out over the schoolyard from my seat, unable to will myself back to the mansion. The classroom, dyed a red-orange by the sunset. Looks like a watercolor painting. It makes my eyes throb a little. There's something about vermilion that's unsettling. As the hue pierces my eyes, I'm hit with a wave of nausea. I guess I have trouble with anything that reminds me of blood. The reality is, I've grown weak to it. "7 years ago, I was on the verge of death. I was caught in a terrible accident, a building collapse. What? Didn't they say you got hit by a car? My wounds were so severe that most people thought I didn't have a chance. Luckily for me, all of my injuries were focused in one place, and my doctors were able to get to me fast. It almost feels like it happened to someone else thinking back like this. There's a lot I still don't know about it. Something struck my chest with such force that it impaled me. I passed out immediately. Like a machine that had its plug pulled. Like a puppet that had its strings cut. All I remember after that is the pain and the cold. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. The scar still remains on my chest. From what they told me, I not only hit my back hard, but a piece of glass pierced my chest as well. That's how I got the burn-like scars on my chest and back. When I was finally able to look at the wounds, I almost passed out from the sight of them. Ever since then, I've been prone to bouts of anemia. I've caused a lot of trouble for the people around me, collapsing suddenly all the time. I assume that's why Makihisa Tono, my father, decided that I wasn't healthy enough to be his heir. I hold down the urge to vomit. I breathe deeply, waiting for the needling in my eyes to subside. A mark of death hidden under my school uniform. I've been able to see the lines ever since the accident. It's only thanks to the glasses Master gave me I've kept some semblance of a normal life. Without them, I'm sure I would have gone mad a long time ago. Keiko was worried that the Tonos were normal when we said goodbye this morning, but there was no need. The reason being, I'm hardly normal myself. I push my glasses back up the bridge of my nose and grab my bag. I can't stay in the classroom forever. I wander around the school or go back to the manor. So I definitely want to be trying to do the Arcade route first, just because I know that CL's route is the one that gets like the big buff from the remake is all that I've heard is, and Arcade route is also the one I've done before, so we're just going to go straight home because I think that'll probably lead us to go into like the tea ceremony. So yeah, we'll just go back. My path home is different from the one I took yesterday. It leads me from a compact middle-class neighborhood to one where large, expensive houses line the street. Every step brings me closer to the Tono mansion. The area isn't completely unfamiliar to me. It may have been 7 years ago, but I have vague memories of this place from when I was 10. It's a strange feeling. This path feels both new and familiar at the same time. I climb up a long hill. The rows of houses disappear from view. The smell of greenery tickles my nostrils. I may be in the middle of the city, but this place feels anything but modern. Almost everything from here on is owned by the Tono estate, the mansion I lived in until the age of 10. The only things left for me there are old memories and relatives I never got along with. Though now, only one close relative remains in the mansion. Makihisa Tono, the father that hated me so much, passed away the other day. My mother died from an illness the year Akiha was born, so the only Tonos left will be my sister and I. As the eldest son, I would have taken over as the head of the family, but I no longer have that right. Being the Tono heir means a restrictive and cloistered childhood. I hate that trigger system so much. I don't know how many times I was told off by my father for trying to escape all that. That's why when I was left defective after my accident, he took the opportunity to cast me out. I'm sure he felt that even though I was the eldest, he couldn't leave the family in the hands of someone who could keel over dead at any moment. To my father's surprise, I recovered, but Akiha had already been chosen as the next heir of the Tono family. Akiha had been raised as the prized daughter of the Tono, but after my accident, she had to endure a harsher education befitting her new station. We played together in the gardens until I was 10, but I haven't seen her once since then. And now it's been 7 years. I wonder how the Tono mansion has changed. I won't have to wonder for much longer. If anything should come to mind now, it would be... I mean, obviously it's my sister. But my sister, Akiha. Akiha visited me a number of times when I first moved in with the Arimas. I wasn't able to see her because of my daily hospital visits, and once she started staying in the dorms at a girls' academy, we only ever exchanged a few letters. Unlike Akiha, I had been expelled from the family. That's why I was able to live as freely as I have. After 7 years, my sister and I must have very little in common. Honestly, I don't really have any desire to go back to the Tono mansion, except Akiha is there. When we were children, Akiha was a quiet girl who always looked meek and timid. She'd follow me around wherever I went. With her long black hair and fine dresses, she looked like a princess out of a fairy tale, locked in some tower and awaiting rescue. I know I have no right to just slip back into being Big Brother now, but I've worried about Akiha these 7 years. She was the first thing I thought of when I learned of Makihisa's death. All alone in that massive house after her father's death. More than anything, I felt responsible because my carefree lifestyle had forced the burden of the Tono family onto her. I think the reason I agreed to return to the manor was to make amends for leaving Akiha behind. The main gate is shut tight. I remember thinking it was big when I was a child, but after living in a normal house, I realized just how massive this place is. The mansion sits on a high hill overlooking the city, giving the Tonos a view of all they control. The grounds alone are bigger than my high school, include the forest behind the manor, and it's easily triple the size. Surrounding the perimeter is a wall of trees and a long fence preventing outsiders from peering inside. The entrance at the main gate is closed, turning away those who would seek entry. Next to the massive gate for cars to pass through, there's a smaller door for people. I hesitate for a moment before pressing the call button. It doesn't make any noise as I push it. After a few seconds, the lock opens with a welcoming click.
ここのドア全自動になったんだ。昔は守衛さんがいたんだけどな。
God, imagine getting paid literally just to, guard the door to some rich dude's house. Honestly, I can think of a lot worse jobs. I open the heavy door and pass through the stone gate. The door gives a satisfying clunk behind me, locking itself again. I make my way along a gently sloped path deeper into the grounds. The walkway, surrounded by tall trees, feels almost like a tunnel. It stretches 40 meters east, then turns at a 90-degree angle to the north. Memories flood back with each step I take. I know this path. I've walked it many times. Just a little further. I reach the corner. My feet guide me towards the north, the rest of my body following closely behind. Then, on the left. The Tono Mansion, its great wide walls standing at attention. A sigh escapes my lips in a combination of wonder and resignation. The mansion looks just like it did back then. According to my father, the building has been the same since my grandfather inherited it from his grandfather, though it was repaired once after the war. For the past few centuries, it's been a seat of power passed from one generation to the next. This is a holy ground for Makihisa, no, for all those related to the Tonos. I remember seeing different adults vying for a piece of it, currying favor with the old man while staying at the mansion for the yearly family gathering. They were all extremely successful business people with their own fancy homes, but for whatever reason, they were obsessed with the Tono Manor. Getting to live there must have been a point of pride for them. It all sounds ridiculous. It's just a big fancy house to me. I've never been comfortable with being privileged.
さて。
There's no going back now. A small doorbell is placed next to the comparatively large double doors. I shake off my nerves and ring the bell. There is no familiar ding-dong. The heavy silence continues for a few seconds. The sound of hurried footsteps comes from the other side of the doors.
はい、お待ち申し上げておりました。
The doors swing open with surprising ease for their size. I narrow my eyes at the waning afternoon light streaming through the windows. I had meant to prepare myself for the sight, but my breath catches as I look over the gigantic lobby. What astonishingly beautiful architecture. It feels like I've traveled to a different country in a different time. The look of the mansion is so old-fashioned, even the very air itself seems foreign. Even so, the lobby still feels familiar. I find myself frozen as the girl who answered the door stands before me, dressed in traditional attire.
よかった。あ んまりにも遅いものですから、お迷いになられているのではと心配していたんですよ。
Everyone, please welcome second best girl.
日が落ちてもいらっしゃらないようでしたら、こちらからお迎えに向かうところでした。
The girl, wearing an apron over her kimono, smiles brightly.
いや、
I find myself speechless at this unexpected welcome. I was expecting the stony-faced man who'd served as my father's assistant and butler to be the one to greet me. The girl tilts her head, likely wondering at the reason for my hesitance.
四季様ですよね。
はい。様っていうのは、余計だけど。
ですよね。もう脅かさないでください。私また間違えてしまったのかと怖くなってしまったじゃないですか。
Girl wags her finger like a mother admonishing her child. She seems genuinely upset with me for having worried her, yet even so, her smile never fades, nor does the warmth emanating from her. An apron draped over her kimono, coming to greet me and calling me master. That must mean...
すみません。もしかしてここのお手伝いさんですか？
The girl answers my question with a smile.
さあ、お疲れでしょ。遠慮せずに上がってくださいな。秋葉様がお手すきになるまで今でおくつろぎください。
The girl motions for me to follow her and begins walking. We move towards the hallway on the east side of the lobby, next to the giant staircase. I seem to remember that the parlor is just inside the hallway. I follow her quietly, call out to her and ask her name, get the urge to explore the mansion. Let's ask her name. I decide to call out to her and ask her name. I can't just be calling her Miss Housekeeper the whole time.
すみません。名前を聞いていいですか？来たばかりで、今のうちの事情がよくつかめなくて。
I call out to her. The kimono-clad girl looks at me, surprised.
琥珀と申します。このお屋敷で遠野家のご当主様に仕えさせていただいております。
The girl, Kohaku, gives a slight bow and a smile. It's a lovely kind of gesture, somehow evocative of a bud blooming into a flower. The girl leads me to the parlor. The parlor looks so much fancier compared to what I remember. It's like seeing it for the first time. Either I'm just too used to how things were with the Arima family, or they've made this room even more extravagant since I was last here. Regardless, this place feels like someone else's home. I look around the parlor restlessly.
借りてきた猫ちゃんみたいですね。お気持ちはわかりますが、どうぞ楽にしてくださいまし。ここは四季様の家なんですから。
そうですよね。
Flustered, I lower myself onto the sofa. It's pathetic how overwhelmed I become from simply returning home. The kimono-clad girl makes her way over to a cart in the corner of the room and pours a cup of tea from it. She places the cup on a tray and carries it over to me.
どうぞ、そちですが。
ありがとうございます。
I can't help but feel a sense of embarrassment being waited on with such a warm smile. I think that's just who I am rather than something that comes from living with a more modest family.
秋葉様に声をおかけしてきますので、しばらくお待ちください。そうですね。おそらく10分ほどかかりますから、それまでお屋敷の中を見て回るのもよろしいかと。
いいんですか？勝手に歩き回って。
何をおっしゃいますやら。ここは四季様のお家です。勝手も何もございません。いえ、でも2階はちょっと行けませんね。秋葉様がいらっしゃいますから。1階でしたらお好きにご観覧ください。四季様にとっては7年ぶりのお屋敷ですもの。懐かしくて胸が弾んでいますでしょ。
Not quite, not quite. She smiles mischievously. Kohaku gives a slight bow and leaves the room.
参っ
My muttering echoes sadly throughout the extravagant parlor. Do I stay here sitting nervously, or do I take a look around the mansion? Yeah, we'll take a look. She suggested it, so why not? 10 minutes. 10 minutes, huh? Maybe I'll take a look around if I have that much time. I should have time to look around the East Wing at the very least.
ここにいても緊張するだけだしな。
I rise up from the couch. I think I remember the rec room had a billiards table and a dartboard in the West Wing.
おや、戻る前に立ち寄ったのだが、先客がいたとはね。
Oh yeah, this dude. A voice calls out the moment I step into the lobby. I turn to the giant staircase to find... strange man dressed head to toe in black. I remember the first time I saw this dude when I played what little bit I did of the fan translation. I was just jump scared.
こんにちは、四季君。塔の邸にようこそ。というのは間違いか。君の場合、おかえりというのが正しかった。
A man, who based on his voice, I'd assume is in his 30s, descends the stairs calmly. There is not a trace of color on him. Dude, he's wearing a purple shirt. His entire body is wrapped in black bandages. He looks like he stepped straight out of a mystery novel.
あなた。
覚えていないのか。ああ、そうか。私だよ。佐伯ゴートだ。君が子供の頃に何度か顔を合わせたことはあったが、このなりではね、覚えていても一致はしないだろう。
Psyche. Was there a branch family with that name? More importantly, this man.
構わんよ。キーの視線には慣れている。私は事故で顔を焼いてしまってね。ずいぶん前からこうでもしないと出歩けない体になっている。秋葉にも煙たがられているが、こればかりは仕方のないことだ。彼女にも責任の一端はあることだしね。
Goto's Psyche gives a self-deprecating laugh as he lifts his left hand up to the shade to shade his eyes. The glare from the skylight must be too bright for him.
しかしまあ、よくも帰ってこられたものだ。君のことだよ、四季君。牧久の言いつけを破って屋敷を抜け出した結果、くだらない事故に巻き込まれて脱落した。脱落。そう、脱落だ。君はご両親からの投資を投げ捨て、自らの義務を放棄した脱落者だ。にもかかわらず、こうして屋敷に戻り、秋葉の兄として振る舞おうとしている。そんな自分が恥ずかしいと思わないのかね。
Bro, I've been back for like 5 minutes. Give me a break. Also, give me... That's weird. I don't know why sometimes the texture goes away. Give me like 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sorry, my headphones ran out of battery. I resist the urge to confront him. The contempt in Goto's eyes is obvious. There's no reason to escalate things further. Besides, he isn't wrong.
おや反論はないのかな。
ないですよ。義務を放棄したのは事実ですから。でも脱落者とか投資とか家族の話にそんな言葉を使うあなたこそ。
家族の話だからこそ的確な言葉を選んだんだね。養育は一族の将来への投資だ。市井の人間はともかく選ばれた血筋尊い家系において個人の自由は存在し自由いや自意識と言ってもいいな。それらは成人した後一族を背負えるようになって初めて獲得できる権利のはずだ。君は遠野の子でありながらそれを理解していなかった。秋葉とは似ても似つかぬ三流だ。まあ一度地に落ちていながら帰ってくる高顔さだけは一流と言えなくもないよね。そう睨むな四季君。今のはただの客観論だよ。私個人の評価じゃない。誤解させてしまったようだが、私は君の帰還に反対はしていない。どちらかというと賛成派だし、そもそも遠野家現当主の決定でもある。よそ者である私にどうこう言えることでもないだろう。
An outsider? He isn't part of a branch family?
佐伯家は祖父の代から遠野家とは対等の付き合いをしている。現代風に言うとビジネスパートナーというやつだ。今日は商談に来ただけでね。長引いてしまったが色よい返事をもらえて上機嫌で帰るところだったのさ。ああ、この陰気な姿でせっかくの帰郷に水を差すのも忍びない。今日この辺りで失礼するよ。
The bandaged man, Goto Saiki, passes by me and walks towards the entrance, all the while his lips curled in a sarcastic smile. I bite my lip, thinking of the word Saiki used. Failure. He's right. The word describes my place in this house perfectly. Regardless, I should go back to the parlor and calm down. I'll walk around later. I don't want to ruin my first meeting with Akiha in 7 years by feeling like this.
失礼いたします。
The girl returns exactly 10 minutes later.
四季様、何かお気に障ることでもありました？
She must be able to tell that Goto Saiki's words have affected me.
いえ、なんでもないんです。ちょっと気をされているだけで。お茶、ありがとうございました。美味しかったです。
まあ、お上手ですね。こちらこそ、お褒めいただきありがとうございます。
She smiles bashfully, brightening the room.
と、それより本題ですね。お待たせいたしました。秋葉様のご用事がお済みになりましたので、執務室においでください。
Girl's in high school and she has an office. We ascend the large staircase in the lobby to the second floor. Akiha's office, the heart of the Tono family. I was never allowed to enter Makihisa's office when I was a child. A room occupied by each generation's family head. And that room now belongs to my sister. In stark contrast to the bright white of the parlor, the office is colored a dark red. Luxurious curtains line the windows. A deep crimson carpet, immaculately kept, is placed on the floor. The refined air to the room is thick with a sense of history. This is where Makihisa Tono once presided as head of the family, and now it's where Akiha will carry that burden forward.
四季様をお連れしました。ご苦労様。 仕事に戻っていいわよ、琥珀。
はい、それでは失礼いたしますね。
Kohaku gives me a slight bow before exiting the room. The only people left in the room are myself and two girls I don't recognize.
お久しぶりですね、兄さん。
Gonna be so weird not seeing them actually just like write out Nissan. But we get used to this. The dark-haired girl casts a dignified gaze at me as she speaks. My head is blank. The gears in my brain have stopped turning. All I manage to do is nod and agree. I'm pathetic, though I suppose it may be understandable. She looks so different from how I remember her.
兄さん、何かこの部屋に不審な点でも？
It's like you couldn't have had her call him just brother, even if not Nissan. Like, I know this is literally like just like a weeb issue where it's like you hear the Japanese, but like you know it's not matching, but like, interesting decision. The black-haired girl narrows her eyes as if she were measuring up a stranger.
Yeah.
Nothing coherent escapes my lips as my mind struggles to catch up. I'm still trying to figure out if she's really my sister or not, even though she's clearly already accepted who I am.
話には聞いていましたが、本当に体調が不安定なんですね。時間は無駄にしますが、私からの話の前にお休みになられますか？
She frowns. Her words seem to have more bite to them than I expected.
いや、体調はそう悪くない。秋葉があんまりにも変わってたんで、びっくりしたというか。
7年も経てば変わります。ただでさえ私たちは成長期だったんですから。それとも、いつまでも以前のままだと思っていたんですか？兄さんは。
So like you translated... whatever, it's fine, it's fine.
それは。
I stammer, crushed under the weight of her quiet ferocity. In the grand scheme of things, this is something very minor to get upset about. Everything else has been, like, pretty quality so far. I feel bad. After all this time, it hadn't even occurred to me to think about how Akiha may have changed. I'd only thought of her as the little girl who used to follow me around. The last 7 years haven't only been hard on me. I'm an idiot for it to only sink in now that she's right here in front of me.
面目ない。正直考えが足りなかった。でも、それにしたって秋葉は変わったよ。昔より格段に美人になった。
Your words finally filter their way out.
ありがとうございます。兄さんは以前とあまり変わってはいませんね。
Iha speaks coldly, her eyes closed. Well, I had expected something like this. She must resent me for leaving the family. A silence falls over us as we take a second to study one another. I was unable to say anything worthwhile to a sister I hadn't seen in 7 years. Akiha stares at me with a guarded expression, inspecting me as if I were some intruder, though to her, I very well may be.
まあいいでしょう。体調が良いのなら話を済ませましょう。今回の移転について、詳しい事情は聞いていますか？
いや、詳しい事情は何も。いいから屋敷に帰ってこいって話だけだ。親父が亡くなったことは新聞で知ったけど。
It's not at all surprising that the death of someone presiding over a massive conglomerate would make the business section of most papers. We live in a world where a son disowned by his family learns of his own father's death on the internet. The news reached me after his funeral had already happened, like I was a complete stranger.
申し訳ありません。お父様のことを兄さんに知らせなかったのはこちらの失策でした。
Kia lowers her head quietly. Her hair is beautiful. That's not important right now. Yeah, you're right. My wording was the problem here.
そこは気にしなくていいんじゃないかな。 俺が言ったって死人が生き返るわけでもないんだ。逆に親戚筋に合わなくて助かった。
I can't imagine they would be kind to me.
そうですか。そう言っていただけると、私も少しは気が楽になります。
I'm lucky to have such an understanding sister. A funeral is an occasion that offers closure to those unable to accept the passing of a loved one. My relationship with my father ended a long time ago. I have no obligation or desire to attend something like that. For Makihisa, I haven't once thought about how I'd say goodbye to him.
でも、そうなると誰が俺を呼び戻したんだ？親父の遺言ってわけでもないんだろ。
兄さんをこちらに呼び戻したのは私の決定です。いつまでも遠野の長男が有馬の家に預けられているのはおかしいでしょ。どんな欠陥があろうと、あなたは遠野の人間なのですから。
I accept the word defect without a second thought. My father used it often. It doesn't bother me anymore, and if anything, she's right.
お父様、遠野牧久が亡くなった以上、遠野の血筋は私と兄さんだけです。血は守られなければいけません。お父様がどのような考えで兄さんを有馬の家に預けたかは知りませんが、そのお父様もすでに他界なさった身。理由が定かではない以上、当の指揮をこちらで監督するのは家族として当然のことでしょ。
Kia's words are quiet but firm, as if she were shutting down any possible objections I could have before I even raised them.
監督するか。じゃあ、もし遠野の家に帰ることを拒否してたらどうなっていたんだ？
そんな自由はあなたにはありません。有馬の人間にも本家からの決定を拒む権利はありません。私も兄さんも遠野家に育てられたものです。少なくとも成人し社会的に自立するまでは、あなたは遠野家に隷属する義務があります。
Makihisa used to say the same thing. Parents are responsible for raising their children and preparing them for society. Just like any good business, a family can't be sending defective products to market. Holy God. I love Nasu. I love him so much. It would only serve to harm their good name and degrade society as a whole. An individual unwilling to remove such a product has no right to be a parent, and a child unable to bear the responsibilities given unto them has no place in the family. Makihisa Tono spoke of this many times to Akiha and I, almost like it was more for him than us.
親父の口癖だったな。じゃあ、俺を呼び戻した理由は単に。
She cuts me off without any consideration for her poor brother, disowned by his narrow-minded father.
どのような経緯であれ、あなたが遠野家の長男だからです。それ以外に理由があるとでも。
Just another day of cleaning up loose ends for the head of the Tono family.
理解していただけて何よりです。言うまでもありませんが、私の発言は遠野家当主のものとして受け取ってください。戸籍上ではあなたは私の兄ですが、この家における上下関係はまた別のものです。兄さん、私はあなたを兄として尊重しますが、同時にこの家を預かる者としてあなたを遠野家の財産として扱います。7年前のことは忘れて、私たちは当主とその家人であることを肝に銘じてくださいますよう。
Kia speaks without emotion. This is a command from the head of the house rather than my sibling. It carries an air of cold detachment. But
それはそれでわかりやすい。はっきり言ってくれた方が俺もすっきりする。
this is the natural way of things. There's no reason for me to be offended.
私の言葉を理解していますか？私は兄さんより上の立場で、それを承諾しろと一方的に宣言したつもりですけど。
わかってるし、文句はないよ。だってどう考えてもこの扱いになるだろう、今の俺は。むしろ 7年間好き放題に生きてきた俺に妹としてきちんと礼を取ってくれる明葉に感謝してる。けど明葉の考えは別にして親戚の連中がよく納得したな。俺を有馬の家に預けろって言い出したの確か親戚の人たちじゃなかったっけ？
そうですね。ですが今のこの件に関して意見を挟むということは私にひいては遠野に逆らうことだと明言しましたから。
I'm stunned. Even Makihisa wasn't able to ignore our relatives, but Akiha was able to persuade them? No, if anything, she probably argued them into submission. I see. Akiha has grown in more ways than one, and as a brother, it's a little terrifying.
兄さん、ぼーっとしたお顔をされていますが、何か？
ああ、いや、感心したというか感動したというか、本当に当主として認められたんだな。
当たり前です。そうでもなければ兄さんを呼び戻せないでしょう。話を戻します。兄さんには今日からここで暮らしていただきますが、ここにはここの規律があります。今までのような無作法は避けていただきますから、そのつもりで。
おそりゃ無理だよ、アキハ。今さら俺がお行儀いい人間に戻れるわけないし、戻ろうって気もないんだから。
Bro,
いえ、何があろうと戻っていただきます。子供じゃあるまいし、試す前から泣き言は結構です。それとも私にできたことが兄さんにはできないとおっしゃるのですか？
Akiha shoots a frigid glare in my direction. It pierces through me like an icicle. There's no doubt about it. 7 years worth of resentment is finally being blasted my way now.
わかった。できるだけ努力はしてみる。
努力はするですか。都合のいい返答ですね。努力をすれば誰であれ報われるとでも。私が求めているのは結果だけですので、そのつもりで。
I'm unable to form any kind of response in the face of her ruthless assault.
いいです。兄さんは今まで自由気ままに暮らしていたんですから、すぐに生活を正せとは言いません。最短で1週間、最長で1ヶ月の猶予を差し上げますので、どうぞ死ぬ気で努力してください。
I don't think I'll be getting any more time after that. This must be how Akiha makes compromises.
ですね、そこまで無茶な話ではありませんから。現在、屋敷には兄さんと私しか住んでいません。
Okay, this is my brain damage specifically. This art of Akiha right now looks like 1-to-1 like a sprite in FGO. Like, if Akiha was put into FGO, this sprite right here could be like literally just her basic ass standing sprite. Like the perspective is almost identical. It's insane.
うるさ型の親戚筋がいては兄さんも落ち着けないでしょうし、私も煩わしいので人払いは済ませました。
Wait a second. Had them leave, then...
お前、屋敷に居候してる親戚全員追い出したのか？
I didn't even realize that was possible.
ええ、どうぞお気になさらず。家と財産を失いながら何の努力もせず、お父様の温情にすがっていただけの方々です。使用人たちも大部分に暇を出しましたが、私と兄さん付きのものは残しましたので問題はありません。
いや、問題ないってありすぎるだろ。そんな勝手をしまくったら次の親戚会議でやり玉にあげられるぞ。
もうつべこべ言わないでください。兄さんだって屋敷の中に人があふれ返っているより、私たちしかいない方が気持ちは楽でしょ？
She's definitely right about
い
that.
やでもだな、本当にそれでいいのか。親父だって親戚の意見には逆らわなかったのに、そんな暴君みたいなわがままを通しちまって。
そうですね。だからお父様は兄さんを有馬の家に預けたんです。けれど私、子供の頃からあの人たちが大っ嫌いでしたから。これ以上どうでもいい彼らの小言を聞くのはごめんです。
ごめんですって、アキハ。
ああ、もういいから、私なんかの心配は結構です。そんなことより兄さんはこれからのご自分の生活を案じてください。いろいろ大変なことになるって目に見えているんだから。
Kia says this curtly, forcing the conversation in another direction.
状況はご理解いただけたとは思いますが、兄さんはまだ有馬での暮らしが抜けきれていない様子。ま、それもいいでしょう。そのための使用人です。
Takeuchi loves this pose right here. I think it's probably been used on every heroine at some point.
この先わからないことがあったらこの子に言いつけて。翡翠。
Akiha, without turning, calls the girl waiting at the back of the room. The girl named Hisui takes a step forward and gives a bow. It's a polite, though emotionless bow, like servitude made manifest.
この子は翡翠、うちの使用人です。これから兄さん付きの次女にしますが、よろしいですね。
So she's another one of the housekeepers. Wait, what?
次女ってつまりその。
わかりやすく言うと召使いということです。
I don't believe it. Both Akiha and the girl look like nothing out of the ordinary has been said.
ちょっと待ってくれ。召使いとか大げさすぎないか。自分のことぐらい自分で面倒を見れるっていうか。
食事の支度や洗濯もですか？
I mean, Akiha's sure on point.
ともかく、この屋敷に戻ってきた以上、私の指示には従ってもらいます。
I feel like doing your own laundry is one of those things that like most people should probably get more used to doing before like adulthood, because like it's really not that hard. It just like takes time. But even now it's like, all right, cool, throw stuff in the washer. Just wait. Just go watch a long YouTube video.
有馬の家ではどう暮らしていたかは知りませんが、これからの兄さんは遠野家で暮らす遠野家の長男なんです。相応の待遇は義務として受け入れてください。
My gaze wanders over to the girl clad in maid attire. Isui shows little emotion on her face. She looks like a doll as she returns my gaze.
それじゃあ翡翠、兄さんを部屋に案内してあげて。この人は右も左もわからない子猫と変わらないようですから。この広い屋敷でいきなり迷子にならないようにね。
かしこまりました、秋葉様。
Isui bows to Akiha and walks toward me quietly. She looks toward me, but her gaze is fixed in a way that ensures our eyes don't meet. Her steps are measured, but far from slow. I can tell she's done this for a long time.
あ、それと兄さん、長男といえどこの屋敷では禁止された事柄、立ち入ってはいけない場所があります。それを犯したりすることのないように。翡翠には兄さんのお守りも命じてありますから、翡翠の進言にはできる限り耳を傾けてください。
それお守りじゃなくて監視役って言わないか。
兄さんが規則正しい生活をしてくだされば、翡翠もそんな役割から解放されます。それではまた夕食の席で。
Kia must be busy if she can't spare any more time than this.
お部屋にご案内いたします、四季様。
Isui moves towards the door, paying my obvious confusion no mind. I sigh as I leave the office. We make our way back out to the second floor lobby. The lobby splits the Tono mansion into two wings. It's like a giant bird in flight. Okay. extending its wings far in both directions. Each wing is roughly the size of a small hospital. Jesus, how big is this place? I vaguely recall that the building is symmetrical, with the same number of rooms on both sides.
四季様のお部屋はこちらです。
Instead of descending the stairs, Hisui continues along the walkway overlooking the lobby, towards the west wing. I guess that means my room is on the second floor of the west wing. Sun is already set outside. Blue carpets line the hallway, extending in either direction. The uniform white walls bring a castle to mind. The maid walks down the hall, lit by warm orange lights.
なんかおとぎの国みたいだ。
No filter between brain and mouth here.
四季様、何かご質問でも？
いや、ただの独り言だから気にしないでくれ。
Hisui gives a slight bow after glancing at me, and continues walking again. I don't know what to say. And that's not the first time since returning to the mansion. Floors made with expensive teak wood. A ceiling that must be at least 3 meters high. I think I can see a sunroom further down the hall. The room Hisui shows me to isn't where you'd expect a high schooler to live.
俺の部屋ってここ？
はい。ご不満がおありのようでしたら、違うお部屋をご用意させていただきますが。
いや、不満なんてあるわけないけど、その。
It's way too fancy for me.
四季様。
いいんだ。なんでもない。喜んでこの部屋を使わせてもらうよ。
はい。お部屋は7年前から手を加えていませんので、不自由はないと思います。
Does that mean...
ちょっといいかな。ここ、7年前は俺の部屋だったとか。
そう伺っておりますが、違うのですか？
Hisui tilts her head slightly. I feel a little better. So she isn't completely devoid of emotion.
まあ、言われてみれば確かに少しは覚えがあるし、きっとそうだったんだろう。
This doesn't feel like my room at all, but I guess that's what happens when you've been gone for 7 years.
けど、やっぱり落ち着かないな。今朝まで4畳半の部屋で暮らしてたからさ、高級ホテルに泊まりに来たみたいだ。
お気持ちはわかりますが、どうかお慣れください。四季様は今日から遠野家のご長男なのですから。
まあ、そうだね。せめて外見ぐらいは笑われないように頑張ってみるよ。
I set my bag on the desk and stretch. I'm still a bit overwhelmed by everything, but I don't have much choice other than to just get used to it. At the very least, I need to be comfortable enough to relax in my own space.
それと、昨夜のうちに届いたお荷物はすべて運び込みましたが、問題はありませんか？
いや、別にないけど。あ、なんか持ち込んじゃいけないものでもあったとか？
いえ、お荷物が少なすぎるようですから。必要なものがあればご用意いたしますので、どうかお聞かせください。
R/male living space's ass room. No, that's... This room's too nice for that.
そっか。いや、とりあえず足りないものはないよ。もともと荷物は少ないんだ。自分の荷物って言ったら、そのカバンとこのメガネと。
The only things in my bag are my textbooks and a white ribbon I've kept for a long time.
ともかく荷物のことは気にしないでいい。
That right there is a little thing we like to call Chekhov's ribbon.
こんな立派な部屋だけで十分だ。
かしこまりました。では、1時間後にお呼びに参ります。
1時間後ってもしかして夕食？
はい。それまでどうぞおくつろぎください。
Hisui says, devoid of emotion as she seems to be her usual. Or as seems to be her usual. But now my problem is how to kill an hour. It's just past 6. If it were yesterday, I would just play with my phone or watch some TV in the living room, but I can't see the mansion having a place for people to get together and wind down.
翡翠、つまらないことを聞くけどさ、この屋敷に テレビとか通信回線とかあるの？
テレビと通信回線ですか？
Isui narrows her eyes ever so slightly. Even asking the question gives me a headache. Asking about modern luxuries in a decadent, old-fashioned mansion like this seems wrong.
今にはありません。西館には娯楽室がありますが、こちらは鍵がかけられています。先日まで逗留なされていた皆様は私物を持ち込まれていましたが、出立される時に荷物はお持ち帰りいただきましたので、残ってはいないと思います。
アキハが追い出した親戚筋か。逗留って誰がどのくらいしてたんだ？
久我峰様のご長男とそのご家族の皆様が1階に士官の3部屋を、東崎様のご三女とその婚約者の方が2階に士官の角部屋を、木島様のご長男が1階東館の1部屋を。
Wait a minute. I'm not remembering names wrong. Okay, yeah, Koma Kishima. That is, another melty character.
皆様、3年ほどお過ごしになられました。あとは、確か、先代である牧久様の主治医様が屋敷に逗留されていたと聞いています。
3年もか。なあ、翡翠。そういうのって逗留って言うんじゃなくて、居候って言うんじゃないか。
Isui doesn't answer. Her position as a housemaid must prevent her from voicing her personal opinions about the guests. Regardless, if they've taken all of their belongings with them, I can't expect to find anything I can use. Makihisa hated any kind of modern convenience, so I can't imagine he would have allowed them access to the internet or a TV. Akiya must have taken after our father.
ないからって別に死ぬわけでもないか。
If nothing else, I still have my phone. I take it out of my pocket and check the time. It's silly to think I was actually worried I might not get service here. It may not be much, but I'm relieved to have at least some way of connecting to the internet. I'd expected to be stuck without one, considering how out of this world this place is. Meanwhile, Hisui is silent. I don't know if it's just her trying to be professional, but Hisui doesn't speak unless it's a necessity or she's asked something. Not being used to having a personal attendant, it's a little unnerving. I'd like to try and make her smile somehow, but it's not going to be easy.
確か1階の西館の方に書庫があったっけ。暇な時はそこから何か見繕うことにするよ。
I have hired this Hisui to stare at you. Hisui doesn't respond. She's looking in my direction, but her eyes are fixed on the empty space next to me, rather like a cat.
翡翠？
Hisui says nothing, until she suddenly returns her gaze to me.
姉さんの部屋にならあると思います。
She was just zoning out.
は？
I blurt out without meaning to. Did she mean...
ですから、テレビです。以前、姉さんの部屋で見かけた記憶がありますから。
Hisui says like she's recalling a memory from long ago.
よかった。ここでもそれぐらいはあるんだ。って、ちょっと待って。姉さんってもしかして琥珀さんのこと？
はい。現在、このお屋敷で働かせていただいているものは、私と姉さんの二人きりです。
Tell me the two girls with red hair are related? Couldn't be. Now that I think about it, they do look a lot alike. Hisui's so different from her cheery sister, I didn't even consider that they might be related.
そっか。あの人なら確かにバラエティ番組を見てそうなキャラクターだ。
I stop short of asking to use it, as I feel too embarrassed to go into her room.
ごめん。この話はなかったことにしてくれ。これからここで暮らすんだから、屋敷のルールには従わなくちゃいけないしね。
I don't think Akiha would ever let me live it down if I spent my first night back lounging in front of the TV. I'll act the perfect little student, someone worthy of the Tono name.
夕食まで部屋にいるから、時間になったら呼びに来てくれ。翡翠だって他にやることあるだろ。
Isui nods affirmatively and puts her hand on the doorknob. The door opens with a faint squeak. Hisui leaves the room after a small bow. God, Takeuchi's got to be so happy to be able to draw maids again. The fact that these characters literally only exist because he's like, dude, Nasu, I love maids so much. Please write some. I dine with Akiha. Both Kohaku and Hisui are completely devoted to serving the two of us. Servants aren't allowed to dine at the same table as their masters. It goes without saying, but having grown up with the Arimas, the setup makes me uncomfortable. I've also completely forgotten about table manners. Humans have evolved the ability to remove useless pieces of information from their minds, which means any memories I had of table etiquette are long gone. Every movement I make elicits a raised eyebrow from Akiha. Shiki goes to grab the wrong kind of fork, and it just cuts to the rock eyebrow from Akiha. It's nerve-wracking, but it does spice up our mealtime. To be honest, the idea that I'll be doing this every day from now on is disheartening. Dinner ends in silence. I was so desperate to remember my table manners, I wasn't even able to come up with any small talk. Akiha seemed displeased the entire time. Hisui and Kohaku have just finished taking away our plates when the reckoning comes.
やはり徹底的な再教育が必要なようですね。
She says, plainly. The cold, cruel comment reverberates around the dining room.
誰にどのような。
兄さんにふさわしい心構えをです。
I knew it. So that's what she was thinking about while raising her eyebrows at me.
その具体的には。
まずは生活習慣の改善。夜間の外出は当然禁止です。門限は8時とします。どのような理由であれ、外出の時は私か琥珀、翡翠の許可を取るように。
An 8 p.m. curfew? How old does she think I am? More importantly, I need permission just to leave?
待て待て、それは。
休日の学習スケジュールはこちらで立てておきます。報告によると、兄さんの成績は中の中だそうですね。まったく。相変わらず効率よく手を抜くのだけは得意なようで。
God, she is going full hater mode.
とんでもない。俺はいつだって全力だ。
ですが、この屋敷にいる間は本気を出していただきますから。兄さんはやればできる人なんですから、お体のことを考慮しても学年3位以内は当然でしょ。
My sister is painfully overestimating me, and it's scary how much she knows about my grades.
他の習い事はもう少し落ち着いてからにしましょうか。それでは兄さん、本題のあれを出してください。
はい。
What does she mean by it?
あれといえばあれです。あるでしょう。兄さんのズボンにも若者の象徴のような汚らわしいあれが。それを隠さずに出しなさいと言っているのです。
Akiha, no. Your route's not until the next game.
いや、ますますわからない。これが上流階級のすることか。一般市民を何だと思ってるんだ、お前は。
ですから、携帯端末を出してください。兄さんだって持っているんでしょ。
Akiha, there are like a million better ways you could have phrased that.
なるほど。
I take out my phone from my back pocket. As soon as I place it on the table, Hisui wordlessly takes the phone and gives it to Akiha.
これは没収します。当家ではこの手の電子機器は禁止です。電話ならロビーの備え付けのものを使うように。調べ物がしたいのでしたら、図書室をどうぞ。
Akiha cuts our one-sided conversation short and leaves the dining room. I find myself stunned into silence for the nth time today. I was never super attached to my phone. I mostly used it for texting and to check the news when I had some free time, though, like most people, I consider it a basic necessity. It's another reminder of how strict the Tono household really is. I mean, banning phones in this day and age. I return to my room now that dinner is finished. It's just past 9:30 p.m. I spent about 2 hours in the dining room in the end.
お帰りなさいませ、四季様。ご指示はありませんでしたが、就寝の支度をさせていただきました。
Hisui greets me as soon as I enter my bedroom. I see my bed waiting for me, neatly made. She was a step ahead of me, it seems.
うん、ありがとう。
寝巻きはそちらのものをお使いください。着ていらしたお洋服はそちらのカゴに入れ、廊下に出しておいてくだされば助かります。
A wicker basket is placed at the foot of the bed. I assume if I put my dirty clothes in here and place it in the hallway, then Hisui will clean them for me. This is starting to feel even more like some upscale hotel.
何かご質問はございますか？
Hisui stands there, as still as a statue. I have plenty of questions, but it dawns on me that I know very little about Hisui or Kohaku.
あまり関係ない話なんだけど、いいかい？
はい、何でしょう？
翡翠と琥珀さんがここでどんな仕事をしてるのか知りたいんだけど。
私が四季様付きで、姉の琥珀は秋葉お嬢様のお世話をさせていただいております。お二人が留守の間は屋敷の管理を任されていますが、それが何か？
お世話って、やっぱりそういうことか。
My shoulders feel heavy. Akiha explained everything like it went without saying, but I'm just a normal high school student. I don't have much interest in being waited on hand and foot by a girl my own age.
四季様付きってことは、俺専用の使用人ってこと？
はい。何なりと申し付けてください。
Hisui bows deeply. My chest tightens with guilt.
わかった。秋葉のあの言いぶりじゃ、俺を一人にはしないだろうし、そもそも俺の気持ちの問題で君を解雇させるのは良くはないと思う。ありがたくお世話になるけど。
何か特別なご要望でもあるのですか？
そんな大それたことじゃなくて、その四季様っていうのはちょっと、俺はそんな柄じゃないし、正直に白状すると分不相応すぎて首根っこをつかまれた気分になる。
ですが、四季様は私の主人です。
そうは言うけど、俺は今日まで普通に生きてきた身なんだ。帰ってきただけなのに、同い年ぐらいの子に様付けで呼ばれる生活とかちょっと難しい。
Hisui seems nonplussed.
俺のことは遠野さんとか四季さんでいいよ。堅苦しいのはなしにしたいんだ。こっちも君を翡翠さんって呼ぶからさ。
Hisui, though otherwise expressionless, lowers her eyebrows and bites her lip. Man. I wanted to make things easier for her, but it looks like it may have had the opposite effect.
ですが、あなたは私の雇い主ですから。
俺が雇ってるわけじゃないだろ。
失礼ながら、それは同じことです、四季様。私どもは遠野家に仕える者。ご当主様もご親族の方も、共に尊ぶべき主であることに変わりはありません。ですので、どうか私のことは翡翠とだけお呼びください。お使いする方に継承で呼ばれる使用人の心境を察していただければ幸いです。
Hard to argue against that. Her answer really does fit that of a manor servant.
俺にできないことをやってくれるんだから、ありがたがるのはこっちなんだけど。
Arguing would only serve to trouble her further. I'll refrain from voicing my own opinions on the matter for now.
呼び方、翡翠でいいんだね。
はい。何としてもそのように。
Her please has a bit of punch to
わ
it.
かった。じゃあそのように。でも、俺に対してあんまり堅苦しいのはなしにしてほしい。お姉さんの琥珀さんにもそう伝えてくれるとありがたい。
はい。四季様がそうおっしゃるのなら。
Yes, of course, I will ignore you anyway. Hisui lowers her head gracefully. Alright, looks like we've got a long ways to go until we can talk casually. Hisui leaves the room after bowing. The moment I'm alone, a wave of exhaustion crashes over me. A lot happened today. My body is crying out for some much-needed rest. I turn out the light and lie on the bed. I can tell I'll sleep like a rock. I try to fight against the sleep creeping in. I'm somehow able to keep my eyes open, but it's a losing battle. No matter how hard I fight, I fall deeper. That's just how the human body is built. I stare at the ceiling, still in the space between consciousness and sleep. Back after 7 years, seeing family again. It still feels like someone else's house.
でも帰ってきたんだろ
I say, trying to accept everything. My consciousness slips away as I sink into a deep slumber. A mansion on a high hill, far away from the bustling of the town. Like an island surrounded by a sea of trees. I come to the conclusion the instant my eyes close. It's like a prison. Dog, you're still in the near side. You don't even know the half of it. I awake suddenly. Nobody woke me, nor did I hear a sound. It just happened, seemingly for no reason. I wonder how long it's been since I woke up in the middle of the night. I get up, feeling like I've forgotten something. A shiver of unease creeps over me as I exit my room. I start down the hallway in search of a glass of water to slake my thirst. Slake? Is that a word? Okay, yeah, no, that do be a word for for taking care of your thirst. Nasu truly understands the horror of just being in a big house alone in the middle of the night. The long moonlit hallway lies before me. The night is totally silent. This all feels so familiar. I must have done exactly this when I was younger. I find myself wandering to the stairs aimlessly, yet not. There, a hidden section of the mansion. The stairs connect not only the first and second floors, but also to an attic by way of a secret passage. It seems even the people living here have long forgotten this place. The room, once used for storage, shows no trace of anyone having used it in years. Despite being midway through October, it's unseasonably cold tonight. I rummage through the room, hoping to find a blanket. An old cabinet catches my eye. I open each drawer. I find some odds and ends, but little of note. There's nothing worthwhile in the drawers. Even the giant chest I open has only a few scattered stones inside. Okay, this... A badge, a few trinkets, a pair of binoculars. All things a child might collect. Among them, a single thing stands out, different from everything else. Stained bandages, sealed in a clear plastic case. They are rolled up neatly, but so old that they could never be used. There's nothing here. I shut the drawer and start back to my room. Oh, he's like crying. On exiting the room, I realize my cheeks are wet. I wonder, could I have used this place when I was a child? Yeah, let's save. And we're at the start of day 2. Day that was not. With that being said, we've been going for just about 3 hours now. Did I miss anything? Oh wow, this big flowchart. Yeah, we've been going for about 3 hours. I'm still kind of wiped from beelining through 14 this weekend. So, with that being said, I think we are going to call it here for today. But yeah, thank you for everyone who came by. Going to be doing this again on this upcoming Wednesday and this upcoming Friday. Probably going to be later in the day just because I do have work. But keep your eyes open on my Twitter. That's where I post stream announcements when I'm planning on going live. With that being said, let me find someone to send you over to. Who is live. Think here. Here we go. Yeah, let's go ahead. And we will send you guys on over to... we'll send you over to Kat. She is playing Slay the Princess. So that is fun. And be nice. Convince her to play Tsukihime because she hasn't. But yeah, I hope that everyone has a good rest of their day. And that I will see you back here again on Wednesday. So we've got the raid started. We'll be sending you over, and you all have a good rest of your day.